Hi, Tyria. Happy Wednesday. Happy Tuesday. Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Happy anniversary. It's been a long week already. Happy anniversary, Tyria. And thank you guys for joining us for the anniversary live stream. I'm your host, Ruby, and we are starting off with Game Director. Mike, you want to say hi?
Yeah, this is a very special day for us here in the studio. Guild Wars 2 has been going for 7 years strong. And the team is just so blessed and fortunate to have such an amazing fan base behind us. Everything we do for you guys. This has been a really challenging year for us. I'm not going to lie, but everything from the posts, the tweets, the threads, everything that we've been paying attention to has just shown how much you guys are passionate and care about this game. Nothing exemplifies this more than what you guys did for us with the Love for ArenaNet hashtag earlier this year. We still have art up on the walls that just reminds us every day why we're doing this and why this franchise and this game is so special for all of you and for all of us. So thank you for an amazing 7 years. Clearly, we're not done yet because we have some things we're about to announce later this week. We're super excited to see where the future of the game goes, and we hope that you'll be with us along for the ride.
Yeah. You all are truly an amazing community. We are honored every day to be a part of the community and that you let us be part of that with you. This has been an incredible 7 years. We are so excited for 7 more and 7 more and 7 more after that.
Well, we've got the stories to tell for sure. So
yes, we have the stories to tell. We have a whole lot of our Guild Wars 2 developers who are joining us today to share their stories over the past year, and we want to hear your stories of the past year, things that you loved, awesome things that happened to you with your friends in Guild Wars 2. So throw those in chat if you have them. Share them with everybody because we all want to hear that too.
I started a thing actually in one of our meetings where we actually put up some of the stories from what players have posted about like what Guild Wars 2 means to them. So when we do our team meeting and syncing up on where the future of the game is going, kind of all the announcements and that kind of stuff, we do reinforce it with how much this game means to individuals. And so whenever you see us, on the streets, at PAX or other conventions, don't be afraid to tell us your stories because this is why we do it. More than anything, this game is important for how it builds a community, how it brings people together, and what this game means to you. So, again, thank you from all of us on the Guild Wars 2 team and at ArenaNet, and we're looking forward to many more years with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike is completely right. We love hearing your stories face to face. That's a huge deal. It is like refueling for us. Yeah, so, all right, well, let's get started with our first 3 dev guests, but real quick, before you leave the room here, this is our last live stream in this room. We're getting ready to start some construction. We are going to have a gorgeous new home in a few months, but this one's coming out to make room for some construction, so we get to do a little bit of good-natured vandalism. A couple of us have already kicked it off, but on your way out, stop and sign the wall.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, Ruby.
We will be right back. Thank you, Mike.
With the 3 amazing dancers.
Yes, thank you, 3 amazing dancers. You know what? We should get them on here and have them sit in the chairs. They're like, oh, God, I have regrets. All right, we will be right back. Stick around, you guys. Hello, dancers of Guild Wars 2. That was amazing. Thank you guys for letting us be ridiculous at you. Appreciate it.
I think Eric did all the heavy lifting
I
on
did
that.
not know this was happening today. And
Wait,
you're on camera. What?
they couldn't tell from watching is that you kept playing music.
I
and
played
like,
music. You're welcome.
You tried to get Jason to do the hula.
Jason offered to
I
do the
cooperated a
hula.
little bit.
This is this is an important distinction. Jason offered to do the hula.
All right.
That's what I
It's,
remember.
it's good we have such a dull, serious, and unfriendly workplace, right?
Yeah.
It's true.
So, well, happy anniversary.
I forgot my suit.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry. I know I
It's
didn't
okay.
the dress code.
Because Eric forgot his powdered wig.
Oh, yeah.
It's just-
They're golden. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves real quick? You
Sure.
first.
I'm Connor Fallon. I'm one of the designers on Guild Wars 2. I worked on I started with Path of Fire, and then I've been working on Living World since. So yeah, that's me.
Eric.
I'm Eric. I'm a content programmer on Guild Wars 2. I've been here a while. I don't know. I got here right after launch, so I worked on everything.
Everything.
Since then, yeah, like all this stuff. I don't
Literally
know.
everything.
Yeah, and I'm on Living World now with Connor.
And I'm Jason Reynolds. I started about 5 years ago with Raids and Heart of Thorns and done a little bit of everything since then, and now I'm on Living World.
Nice. All right, well, let's just talk about some of your most fun things over the past year, because that's like Z said, this has been an interesting year, but we've done so much cool stuff. So what were some of your favorite things about the content you developed?
Well, so let's see. Over the last year, we worked on Eric and I were both mainly on A Star to Guide Us, and then
Yeah.
we did kind of ambient stuff on the later episodes. Then, of course, we're working on the whatever is next, but that's we can't talk about any of that, so we have
You guys
to
were
erase.
so close.
That was
Yeah,
really
we-
close.
Wait till Friday.
I mean, obviously, a lot of the stuff we did in Star to Guide Us was great. Like the mushroom adventure was
yeah.
is definitely, and it was definitely an interesting, bizarre thing that Frosty prototyped, and then I ran with it, and I'm pretty impressed that we shipped it.
I actually want to know, like, what was that meeting like? It's just like, okay, so hear me out.
You're assuming there was a meeting, and it's not like so Frosty was just like, I did this, and then I'm like, all right. Oh, by the way, I'm changing half the people to like Farron in his underwear, and he's going to be
Okay,
dancing.
see, that to me, that my definition of a meeting is really loose. Like,
Yeah.
people are getting cereal at the same
I-
time in the kitchen at 7 in the morning, and that's a meeting.
Meeting.
As far as I can tell, because stuff gets done.
Yeah,
It's true. I mean, and then like run around for no reason. Yeah, okay, that
run
ties
around-
it all
run
together.
around-
It's
run around for
great.
no reason was the thing I had at the very end. Yeah, it's an adventure, and it had the weirdest request that I've ever made of the art team, which was like, hey, I need a prop that can be a piece of fruit, a chicken, a gem, present, and like I just need these to all be different states
pie,
of the prop.
too?
Yeah, a pie.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing was every time you did the adventure, it was a different random thing you're chasing. So like one time you do it, it would be, and there was a really like the chicken was a really slim chance. Like I made,
Really?
yeah, like I made the chicken like 0.01% chance that it'll be a chicken. So like,
Really?
yeah, most of the time it's a pie, and then so like that. I put a lot of
I feel like you
thought
got that
into the
backwards.
probability of your
Yeah.
hallucinations. All right, it was really important.
Okay, so far, we need like a record of the amazing sentences said on this show
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
because I put a lot of thought into the probability of your hallucinations.
There-
So far as the front runner.
Well, I mean, we've been here for 5 minutes, so like.
Yeah, but I mean, you know,
Hey,
it's
that's
us.
quote board worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For me, I feel like the weirdest stuff is upcoming, but I think my favorite from Star to Guide Us, the spider, and I got to cut loose a little bit with the bounty bosses. So
Oh, yeah.
we did we tried some weird stuff there, and I hope we get to reuse some of it because you had the like suggestion to make all the targets be like angry or confused. Or
Yeah.
confused, and
Yeah.
I know we didn't run with it
You
quite as
didn't
much
do
as
it.
you wanted.
You wanted them to all have different emotions.
Yeah.
You started with the angry pet rock.
Well, because we had to sell. I mean, like, why is this pet rock? The directive. There was a meeting for this, and it was like, what if stuff got loose from Zomros, so we could do anything? So I was like, all right, let's find the weirdest looking prop we've got. I got this pet rock. Can we make that a boss? Like, no,
He
but
did
let's
it.
do it. Like, yeah. So and that they gave us a lot of free reign. It was just like, I don't know. We need bounties to happen. Make it happen. And I'd never really done bosses, and they were super goofy. We got
were
to
really
cut
great.
loose, play with some mount tech, throw players around, which I hadn't really done. So yeah, I think the bounties were probably my favorite.
Stardigitis is a really interesting episode because like we have a lot of really intense stuff in that episode. I mean, like it obviously ends with heartbreak, but we also were able to get away with a lot of goofy stuff in it, and it's got a nice mix. Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, we are just under 47 hours away from talking about the next chapter of our Living World story. I'm taking the spoiler gates off. You guys, we're spoiling season 4, okay?
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about.
Oh, I thought when you said you're taking the spoiler gates off, I thought for a moment you're like
Ruby!
talking about the next stuff, and I'm like, no,
He's going rogue.
He's like kicking the door, and they're like, you're all under arrest.
Season 4.
The Guild Wars 2 police are here.
Sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay, I hope I didn't say anything I shouldn't have already.
No. Connor was like worried about talking about how the end of Stardigitis.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
And I was like, okay, it's fine.
All right, okay.
Don't hesitate.
Blish dies.
Please do.
He dies, and it's sad.
Wow.
I
It is sad.
honestly did not see that coming. That was rough. Like that was. You're not
and then you mean
screwing around, are you?
in the thing.
Yeah.
It was really sad.
It was
Yes,
sad.
it was.
It was Samantha's lines that she wrote for. I think I said this on Guild Chat before. The line she wrote for Gorick.
Gorick kills me.
When Gorick finds out, where he's just like, "But I saved him," is like the most compressed heartbreak I have. Like it's
That was
3
brutal.
words.
That was brutal.
And the
But I
voice,
saved
the voice actress delivery. Was fantastic. If you haven't seen the behind the voices video with him, it makes it worse because he's like you can see his face.
brutal.
He's breaking up.
Yeah.
He was doing it. It was. Ugh.
Well, I
It
feel
was
like
so hard to watch.
like I worked on that some of that content, so I had to watch it a bunch, and I did the same with the Timey kidnapping, and I just was like,
Oh, that was you.
well, I didn't write it. I didn't
He
do the voice
kidnapped
acting.
Timey.
I did that. I was that instance, but like. It was definitely like, okay, we got to make sure that this beat happens. And then the voice actor comes in, and I was just like, I need to go home.
I can't do this anymore.
So for the players who were like, you've ruined me, I was like, I feel you. I do that every day. Like,
also means we did well.
yeah. And so I think it was good that we get to leaven some of that with the goofy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which we like to do, and as long as it kind of still fits, like you still feel like you're playing Guild Wars 2, it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it definitely is a nice break because,
Yeah.
We definitely like to do the goofy stuff.
I mean, yeah. Well, and Samantha likes to ruin players, so it's
yeah.
a good give and take.
Yeah, yeah.
Check
Yay,
and balance.
Samantha! No, seriously.
It's a nice, it's a
amazing.
good ebb and flow. Yeah.
Exactly.
How about you, Jason?
For the last year?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
We don't have to just pick one. It's okay.
I think the most favorite for me was working with Kraukatoric on episode 6.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
to be totally honest, that was a huge pain. It was really hard making that asset and getting everything designed and coordinated. It was awful.
Like I said,
But-
my favorite was all the suffering I experienced.
Do you know
But
Pet
like,
Rock
but like, there was
or-
a
Yeah, right?
But like the culmination of it, seeing it all come together and
Yeah.
shipping it was extremely rewarding. And there were a number of pitfalls that we could have fallen in that would have devastated things, and we didn't because it's just a great team. So that was the cool thing for me.
That's a good answer. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like it's kind of it's the big purple boss, but like, yeah. I mean, when it all comes together, especially, I feel like there's a stage when you don't know if it's gonna come together. You're like, oh man, we might be
There were several of
in
those.
real bad shape. And then finally at the end, like, oh, okay, it's not working quite yet, but now I get it. Like,
now we're getting it. All right.
Aw.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've talked about on the show before is one of the biggest joys of playing Guild Wars 2 for me is playing with my guildmates. We've been together for like 10 years now. We started in Guild Wars 1. And through so much of Season 4, my big excitement was logging in to hear what they had to say about the content. Because it was just like killing me. And I love them. They're very kind. They don't like nag or pester me for spoilers. And I just let them wait and get their real-time reactions. So like with the Mushroom Adventure, I logged in on that release and it was like, hey everybody, how's it going? And one guy goes, I am concerned.
I have thoughts.
I have feelings. I'm not sure.
He was like, I think I'm tripping. I'm not sure, but I'm worried. and when we got to Dragonfall, and two of us were just staying there, we were like talking on Discord and coordinating what we wanted to do next, and then he starts like loudly freaking out, look over there. It was the tail. coming up down, and he
Yeah.
lost it, and it was so gratifying. It was so good. So, what are some of your guys' favorite player reactions you've seen?
Start at that side.
Oh, geez.
There's too many.
We talk too much.
Honestly, like kind of. I think the tail was a big one. Whenever we had new testers in, or like anyone just seeing it for the first time, I was really excited to just make that happen. Like, look over there, wah! And then also,
Honestly, it sounded like that a lot.
because it just looks super epic. We don't have anything like that in our other maps. And then I think Chapter 2, when you're actually flying after Kalkatorek, that was
That's amazing.
that's pretty excellent instance.
Yeah. What about how much player reaction did you watch on episode 6 at the very beginning?
A lot.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you get thick skin eventually, but it was great seeing everyone experience the events and the meta and the way that we had intended, more or less, and seeing the joy coming from everyone, like hopping into the game, just seeing the chat of people talking about like what's going on and how you do this and working together. Like that's why I do what I do, is I like making a thing and seeing people enjoy it. And so that was just endlessly gratifying.
That's just distilled so purely. I like making a thing and seeing people enjoy it. And that's like the core of it, honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think creatives in general all kind of share that desire that it drives us. So I'm really happy and fortunate and lucky to be able to do that.
Okay. Next, Eric.
Yeah. For me, so my job is kind of both programmer and designer, and it's weird. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with like sad and happy. Because when I got my programmer hat on, the player reaction I'm looking for is all the terrible stuff, so we can find the bugs and the rubbing points and fix them, and try to learn to take some of the like pretty passionate responses and like look for what they're actually looking for. But then when we get to go and like design content. Yeah, absolutely. It's just like everybody who says like, I just do it for myself. Like, no,
No, you don't.
nah, dog. Like on release days, you can just like sort of stand up and look around and see all the streams that player streams and chats just go, and you're just like, oh, they're about to get to this part. Wait, yeah. And I remember the one that stands out the most because I had a lot to do with specific content was the timey one. Watching people really struggle with that. They're like, how dare you take my timey? Like, get to the next episode. I'm like, yeah, I know. Wait, stop for this little piece here. I did a lot of work on that. All right, fine. But
Go back.
yeah, seeing those reactions, even when they're negative in the like sad sense, because I know there's going to be a payoff at the end. I know we're going to be able to like, we're establishing a dissonance, and then we get to resolve it later and get this nice like, yeah. Yeah, that feels real good. Yeah.
So I obviously love Heartbreak. Maybe some of my previous Blish comments. So I really enjoyed watching all the reactions to episode 5. I actually, if you remember, I sent you like a bunch of. I made a big archive of all the people reacting to that sequence, which I was not one of the main people on, but I did do some assisting. I was like, who are the ambient NPCs and doing things like that. But sometimes it's the really small details that are really nice when people actually notice them. I remember when I was helping out with episode 6, one of the things I did was in the final instance, I'm like, you just had this big encounter, and it feels really abrupt if you load in that final airship and you're standing. So I jumped through a surprising number of hoops in order to figure out how to get you to sit on your cot at the beginning of the instance, because it turns out like we can't just force the player to emote, so I had to like fire a skill, and like the skill is them sitting, and then there's another skill that's standing up, and I'm like, no, I was like, no one will care. Right, like it's just going to be a slightly nicer start to the instance.
But by golly, you're going to get it right.
Yeah,
sit down.
And then I'm watching the streams, and like literally, like Wooden Potatoes is like, oh, I started sitting. That's really nice. I'm like,
I know.
I did that.
That was a pretty good Wooden Potatoes impression, by the way.
No, it wasn't great. I apologize to Wooden Potatoes.
No, it was good.
But and there was a couple other streams as well where people actually like, called out the fact they're sitting. I'm like, I literally thought no one would notice, but they did.
People latch on to the smallest things, man.
There was also the funny fact that that was the first time we hit a Snargle Gold Claw book in an instance instead of like out in the open world, and people were pushing him to go find it. and he starts reading it, and he's like, oh, what is this about? It's clearly important lore. And he's reading it, and he's like, and then halfway through, he's like, oh, this is a stupid romance novel. Like,
No.
Zing, got him.
Betrayal.
It was good.
Oh my gosh. I still have that email, by the way. I kept that because it made me happy.
Which one?
The one that you sent me.
Oh, the
With
archive,
with
all
the big
stuff.
archive.
Oh, yeah.
Good work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was but that is one of the most fun things is going through and seeing, okay, this thing that we have been so excited to give everybody. We're finally able to give it to them. We're finally able to get it in front of them. And now let's sit back and watch them have fun.
Yeah.
Which is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one last thing I want to do. You guys all do amazing work, but we know it's not in a vacuum. So are there some team members who couldn't be here today that you wanted to make sure you gave a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna
Connor's like, yeah.
I mean, there's times, there's basically everybody. But
Well, who's going to be on later? I don't actually.
well, Frosty and Heather can't be.
Oh,
on,
yeah,
So,
yeah,
like, let's
oh,
call
Yeah,
out-
they were out
yeah.
today. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Heather was our team lead for Star to Guide
Yeah.
Us. She's now she's ascended to a higher plane of leadership.
Nice.
that's combined with she couldn't be here today. That does
No,
not
she's
sound
not.
great.
She's alive. She's still alive. But like
She's doing great,
working
she's
with
fine.
her on
Not
a,
like Blish.
Connor, no.
working with her on a Star to Guide Us has been fantastic. And then we've been working with Frosty recently, and that's also been really nice. And it's nice to have people who have Frosty especially has so much knowledge about the entire history of Guild Wars
man.
that like it's nice to have someone be like, that doesn't make any sense because of this obscure thing in Guild Wars 1. And we're like, great.
Right? He's an
we-
encyclopedia.
Yeah,
He's our
it's good-
curmudgeonly
it's good-
encyclopedia. Yeah.
It's good that we know that.
Angry Grandpa.
Yeah.
I could say that because, well, I'm also the angry
Because
grandpa.
he's not here?
Oh,
or-
that's why. Yeah. I'm on Connor's team, so it's the same people, and I think we're gonna see some of the others.
Yeah,
later
Kirk is on
today.
later. Like all our writers are fantastic. Like
Oh, yeah.
Lily, Novera, Samantha, everybody. They've all been great.
Well, some of the folks who've like moved on to it.
Yeah.
Since some of that, I mean, Aaron did great stuff and
Yeah.
on the map art and like
Yeah.
so. There's so many moving parts to get this in. Even support team being audio and stuff like that. Like I mean, like that timing moment, like over the comms. It's,
Yeah.
So all the people who make it work, I don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah, I definitely want to call out the audio team because like one of my other favorite reactions was in the Star to Guide Us where Gorick comes running in from another room because he hears you mention.
Oh gosh,
Yes!
He's
that is
mentioned,
so
like-
good.
Yeah, and like that's entirely like everyone assumes like that was like actual like things that the voice actor did. Like no, that was all audio
is
processing.
so good.
It is one of my favorite audio gags. we
Seriously,
have. Like,
I ended up with like a 6 or 8 second clip or something of just that, and because of all the heartbreak, I would keep that in a tab open so I could just play
laugh
it.
it.
What? I laughed so hard. I love that.
It
bit.
was
I forgot
so
about
good.
that.
Yeah, and
Oh
what
my
that is, if you happen to miss it, is that Gorick, it just sounds like he's crashing through everything in
Yeah.
his way. He's just making a straight path, does not have time to go around things, so he's just clattering and banging everything over.
Yeah. Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. There's another moment that we ended up keeping because it was so good. It was an accident, and we've talked about it on the show before, but Gorick's voice actor was getting like really into it in the studio, and he was emoting and he was yelling about something, and he had this metal water bottle sitting on a stool, and at one point just backhanded it off the stool, and it made this enormous clatter. Picked up on audio, and he just covered his face and like sank to the ground out of sight. Like we're out there outside the booth and we're just watching him vanish. But the clatter was so perfect. I mean, it sounds like Gork has some stuff going down in his lab
yeah.
and does not have time to deal with the things that are in his way. So if you hear that little clatter, that's what that is. That was an accident, but
didn't
it was
know
a
that. That's
beautiful
great.
one. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if you can hear everyone hysterically laughing outside the booth, but we all pretty much just lost it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So how about you, Jason?
I mean, it's been a long year, but I mean, episode 6 took a ton of people, and it was a huge lift, and so I mean, like everyone, right? Yeah. Like the writers, audio always do
Our
a
audio
heavy
team
lift.
is so good.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
some people just don't get QA too. Is all
QA
this
doesn't
work
get
to QA
enough
doesn't
credit
get
ever.
nearly enough credit.
Yeah.
All the ridiculous edge cases.
Oh goodness.
Oh.
I think my favorite edge case that my favorite edge cases that sometimes turn into achievements. Like I'm like, this should be like the Zafira when you're fighting Zafira, like dragging one of the like exploding awakened up until up to the towers, they explode in her face. I made that an achievement, but like just they find some ridiculous.
Yeah,
things.
they think like
yeah.
players, which I don't, clearly. I'm not good enough to do that because they think of all the stuff like, oh man, yeah, I guess you could do that. Well, shoot.
Make it an achievement.
Yeah, make an achievement or go fix it.
Yeah.
Achievement.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, let's get ready for our next 3 dev guests. Is there anything you guys want to tell the players for the past year before you go?
Thank you. I don't.
That wasn't like a prompt, like say thank you.
No.
Like,
Thank you for playing, and thank you for always being bright and welcoming and helpful, and your feedback is always heard. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. They have a little bit of time while we switch, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then I want to throw this out because we've been fighting about this. Chat can discuss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Red Vines
no.
or Twizzlers?
Oh
Huh?
God, this
Red
again?
Vine.
Yeah. It's coming up. I'm just
Red
saying.
Vines. Red Vines.
Red Vines is the correct answer, and if you think otherwise, you're
There's
wrong. Bad.
there's actually a Twizzler staple like taped to our whiteboard right now that has a little arrow pointing to it that says tastes like nail polish.
It's
and
not
regret.
bad. We're sassy about it, and they're both good, but like there are
No.
distinct
No,
camps.
look, I
being
appreciate you trying to
diplomatic here.
moderate here,
All right.
but Twizzlers are gross.
All right, fair enough. Anyway, that's my horrible addition.
Who knows what nail polish tastes like?
I don't know.
Apparently, the person who wrote on
Apparently,
the
I
board,
don't
like,
know.
I think it was Frosty. So Frosty
They're not
knows.
that bad.
I'm deeply concerned.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys very much. I will let you get back to work or go outside. And no, you're not gonna. You're gonna go outside and stand there because the
No, you're
barbecue
gonna do
hasn't
work.
started. But
Let's go make some magic.
Soon.
Let's do it.
All right.
all right. Thank you guys. We'll be right back. Oh, sign the wall on your way out.
Oh, that's right.
Shan.
And welcome back. Happy anniversary, all three of you. We've got 3 more of our Guild Wars 2 developers on to talk about their past year in Guild Wars 2. I'll let the 3 of you introduce yourselves and talk about what you worked on.
So I'm Joel Helmick. I'm a programmer. I work on everything. I have my fingers in like all the pies. But like specifically for this, I don't know, dragon stuff.
Dragon stuff works.
Pretty much
ep-
like all dragon stuff.
Yeah,
if I remember
episode 6
correctly.
stuff. 5. I'm sure I worked on episode 5 somewhere. 4 somewhere. Was that this? I don't know. Stuff.
It will come in the next half hour.
It's
So.
still early for me.
Alina, hey.
Hi, I'm Elena today Callahan. I worked on a lot of things.
A lot of Skyscale things.
Yeah, so programming, same boat as Joel. I touched lots of things. I don't remember what all they were. But yeah, I did the initial design for the Skyscale, movement. I did all the tons of design and implementation for acquisition. So,
So
lots
cool.
of Skyscale stuff.
How about you, Nick?
Let's see. I'm a game designer at ArenaNet now, but before, during episode 6, 5, and 4, I was the shipping embed on all those episodes.
That
for
Nick is
QA.
evolving.
Huh? I'm evolving, yes.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
So
you.
well deserved.
Appreciate it. But yeah, so I've worked on pretty much every episode since 3, which is pretty much the entirety of this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So you weren't bored.
I know I was never bored.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
what
remember
love about
we
this
had a
place.
couple of conversations where you're like, I really want to help with things. I will die.
Mm-hmm.
Because I haven't slept in a month.
It's okay though. I'm a
Yeah.
youth. I'm spry. I handle it.
Ugh.
Youngins.
Shut up. All right, well, let's talk about some of the highlights. What were some of your favorite things that you worked on this year? And we can start on either end if somebody's stuck.
So Nick.
That's all.
Okay, yeah,
Surprise!
just keeping on with Nick. God, I don't know. There was so many things. I think, touching on a lot of what Jason said in the last session. Episode 6 was kind of this crazy monstrosity, and amalgamation of just different ideas and content like pieces, and working on all of that was amazing because it's like we tried so many new things and it all just kind of worked. I mean, like, of course we
Through great effort.
through great effort
yes.
did a lot of work, and we had to jump over a lot of hurdles, but at the end of the day, right, like the flying behind Krokatoric instance that Taylor Sutherland made, which was absolutely amazing, like that versus what Ben Kirsch made with the entire meta on Krokatoric's back, like that kind of stuff was beautiful, and I loved being able to be a part of it, right?
Aw.
Like, it was splendid.
I would have to say Skyscale Acquisition Collection 3.
Oh, remind me, because I've had my Skyscale for a while now. Which one was that? Which one was 3?
3 is the one where you have a Skyscale hatchling and you have a Tamagotchi style raise your Skyscale.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So like the Skyscale hatches and then gets bigger as you feed
Yes.
them.
Oh, I love that. That one was so much fun. You know what? That reminds me, and I don't know who did it, but I'm about to find out. I went through Skyscale Acquisition with some guildmates. Like, we paced each other and had a lot of fun. I got back in my instance. I happened to load in before everybody and ran over to find out why my Skyscale was upset and why she was misbehaving. And she ran over and knocked me down. Who did that?
That was my suggestion.
Joel, that was like the highlight for me.
I didn't implement it, but it was my suggestion. Because I noticed like it would run over to and tend to overshoot. And like, what do we do? Like, what if it
Yeah,
knocked you
like
over?
I think
Tackle.
Joel
That's
was like
exactly
looking
what
over
she
my
would do.
shoulder
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something at some point,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Hey, look at this cool thing! I've got this excited Skyscale running over to you." And Joel's like, "Skyscale should totally knock you over." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
done."
It was adorable because it's exactly what this giant overgrown baby would do. That was the
It's like
absolute
it's a
highlight
huge
for me.
dog, right? I mean, it's like
Yes, right? It's just an
Flappy dog.
excited Great Dane puppy or something. Or a small pony. Big pony. So what were some of your highlights over the past year?
Ooh.
Because there's so much.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I have this desire to spend an inordinate amount of time talking about that Orine Krokatoric instance.
Well, good news. That's why you're here.
It that was the thing that happened. It has some fascinating usage of mount tech in it, which is why I got so involved in the first place. But first off, fun fact on that one. I don't know how many players know this, but the way it's actually implemented. Oh, it's okay. Story time.
Yay!
When they were first coming up with this, and I missed some of the early development, but they're like, hey, look, we have this huge Croc Torque model. Look how cool it is. It's huge. And they're like, yeah, it's so big that it goes past the far view plane, and we can't see the whole model when it's on the screen. And that's not great. You kind of need to see the whole Croc Torque. So like, what do we do? And they're like, we can't make it smaller because Croc Torque's gonna be big, right? You gotta have a big dragon. And so someone, I don't know who, had the genius idea of going, well, what if, here's the, perfect.
Always Alina.
Perfect. They're like, what if we scaled it down? Everything, including you also, so everybody. Everything just got smaller, and moved the camera closer, and everything got smaller.
That was so cool.
And so you're like 5% size or something, and you're
something
very
like that.
small. And we just move everything in really close, and you generally cannot tell. But that is through great effort. There were many bugs where sometimes you would get dismounted from Marine and go back to full size, and now you're this Godzilla-sized player. Croc Torque's not so scary when
You could just pick him up and like hug him across the room.
Did we end up fixing
Yeah.
the thing where if you had a commander tag over your head and you went to this instance, you had a huge commander
Oh, I
tag?
have no idea. I don't know.
I think we probably shipped with that.
We-
so if anyone wants to
yeah,
try that out.
I
I'm gonna say we
Excuse
probably
me,
fixed
I'll
it.
be right back.
yeah.
I'm gonna say we probably fixed it.
I think I don't know.
Oh,
So nameplates were I think I set it up so they hide nameplates because so there are a bunch of things going on here. So the way it actually is set up is you are on Oreen, but Oreen is not a separate character. It works. She works the same way our player mounts do, where it's technically the same entity, but there's another visually drawn model underneath you. And then we take the whole thing and attach it to this invisible box. And that's what does like the movement on rails and stuff, like as you're flying around Croc Torque. And that's not something we'd ever actually done before, so I had to do a bunch of cleanup in that code. Like it's one of those things that theoretically should work, and the designers are like, here we go, we're doing it. And then that's just the story of my life. And it's extra fun also when you bring other players. We had a whole bunch of bugs from that, where other players are attached to Oreen, so it is technically you, the entity, but the Oreen submodel. And that is also something we had never done before. So I had to clean up that code. And it led to some most amusing bugs. We actually had a live crash recently that was just related to that, where someone had written some completely unrelated code. And under the assumption, the code made the assumption that, well, if a mounting activity ever happened involving you would always be the writer. And that was not true in this instance, because someone mounts to you.
Oh no.
Which is I think we also did that in, I'm just rambling here, but I think we also did
It's
that.
great.
Yeah,
Go.
in episode 4. Did we end up?
It was episode 4. Yeah.
Did we keep that with
We kept the spider.
the spiders? Yeah. Is the spiders on the face? Like, cause
It's
like the spider picks you up for sure. But there was a point in time when we also had spiders attached to you,
Oh.
and I wonder if we undid that.
I think we undid that one
Callback.
because of concerns with people that are like arachnophobes. But
yeah,
Yeah, if we
little bit.
didn't undo it, I would have lost my mind
Yeah,
by now.
a little
so.
bit. Just attach it to the screen. Just yeah.
But we also attached all of the players in the instance, if I remember correctly, to
I think
the
so.
spider itself.
I think
like
we
you went to go pick up everybody and launch them.
Yeah, we've definitely designers have started taking that tech and running with it, so to speak, which is like early mount development prototype stuff of actually stapling two characters together. And they're like, what if a monster picked you up and carried you around? Like, perfect, that's what I wanted. And now people are doing that.
It's very fun.
Makes me happy.
It's very fun watching you debugging these sort of things, because that'd be like a raptor with a player,
Oh, yes.
and then a moose attached to the raptor's head, and then an engineering turret on the moose's head.
Yeah, I was trying to let's try to push the system and see what all can it handle, and so you'd have this tree of raptors and
If I remember correctly, I think at one point you actually had a staircase of raptors.
yes, oh definitely, yeah.
So it's
because
the
it's
raptors at the very top. And
We
just raptor,
showed
raptor,
that on a
raptor,
guild
raptor,
chat.
raptor, raptor. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It was amazing.
it's fun when they all leap together and stuff.
Is that what happened with that? I
They-
just
they
thought it
can.
was something broke.
I was testing to make sure, like, because there is a setting where they inherit animations from each other, and so it's making sure that they actually work and they all move together. I've definitely done towers of turrets too. That's fun. Where like you, it's really funny when you make a tower of engineer turrets because they're all trying to rotate and face something, and then like the one on top's like, oh no, it gets unrotated, like it's now facing the wrong direction, so they all have to counter rotate. It's hilarious.
That sounds.
Anyway, we're way off where we started, but the point is,
This is literally exactly what I asked
Yeah.
you, though, and it's great. So you're fine.
that instance was both really cool and an instance that I worked on.
And just
But
so that
currently-
way, like, to make sure it's clear, because we have like 3 instances that have Kralkatork. You're talking about the flyover
This
one,
is
right?
this is the you're coming in on Arene behind the big Kralkatork.
Yeah.
When you're in the mist.
Yeah, and it's like it's cinematically really cool. It just we had to make some interesting changes to make that actually look right.
We also
Yeah, like my favorite was still and now you're tiny.
we also have prop bosses mounted to.
Oh, that's
a prop
true.
boss.
Yes, that's right. I
Wait,
forgot.
prop boss is mounted to a prop boss?
Yeah, so Kralkatork is a prop boss, and then all the little sub targets that you can shoot at as Arene are also prop bosses because they all have independent health bars, so they're all separate actual entities that you can shoot at.
So it doesn't matter who, but can somebody do me a favor and run through exactly what does it mean when you say a
Right,
prop boss?
that's an
Because
internal term.
We've explained it on a couple of shows, but
Yeah.
not everybody watches every show. So
A gadget that. Well, okay, so do people know what a gadget is?
Yeah,
sort of.
maybe.
Okay, a gadget
Contextually.
that acts like an attackable creature. Probably easiest just to be like Shadow Behemoth, Claw of Jormag, Tequatl.
Triple Trouble, I think, also. Or a bunch
Yeah,
of
they're
prop bosses.
all
Triple
prop.
Trouble.
Yeah,
Triple
each
Trouble.
one's a prop boss.
Yeah, think of it kind of like a giant statue at a convention versus like a person, right? Like the prop boss is this giant statue at the convention that you can assign points and like tell it to move specific ways, kind of like a doll. Whereas normal bosses are just living creatures that can do whatever they kind of want as long as you make a little box telling them exactly what to do.
Yeah, prop
Right.
bosses are like simultaneously freeing and restricting in different
Yeah.
ways.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
so like.
they don't move. So
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
animate, but
Like
don't.
you can only play animations. You can't like rotate them or anything like that. But also, a creature rotates instantly, which when it's huge it looks terrible. So, there's trade-offs.
Yeah.
For now.
Creature
Right,
or
for now.
prop bosses are better for like
Stay tuned.
giant cinematic looking creatures and like situations where you want like a huge thing to hit and you don't want this like super rapid motion.
Yeah, they tend to be a lot less like emergent. If you have an animation of like a ground pound, well, that animation always hits in the same spot. You can't really be like, hey, target the nearest player with this ground pound because we can't IK the hand to
Right,
that particular
yeah.
spot. So
Oh gosh, that'd be awful. Yeah. Okay.
This anniversary stream is now how Guild Wars 2 works.
So
Which is fun.
It is, yeah, I love it.
So the critical piece about prop bosses that we're using here is they show the little attack target thing. Like,
Yeah.
That's really why they were being used here.
yeah.
Well, that's
and-
super handy.
And
though.
so Kralkatork's got a bunch of these little targets, but they all have independent. Normally, that would be a single prop boss with a bunch of attack targets. And you could just pick which one. But they needed to have separate health bars. They need to be separate entities, and so there's just a bunch of different ones, all mounted.
Those attack targets, by the way, normally you can't see them across the entire map because Kralkatork was so huge. Even after we scaled him down, those attack targets were actually a long ways away, so we actually had to go in and make special tech to, it's like a flag, to allow the attack targets to be drawn far away.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, I mean, scaling everything down like that was a genius creative solution to making it work. But in the grand scheme of things, that attack target is still a billion miles away.
We scaled everything down so that Kralkatork fits within the near and far clip planes, but that's like from like in front of your face in the game all the way to as far out as you can see in the horizon, and then
Oh
we were
my
still using
gosh.
that entire space.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. So working on that fight was, Jason was just like, it was awful. It was hard, but it sounds like it was so gratifying.
It was time consuming, difficult, and scary. But all of those things led to what I consider one of the best experiences in the game. Right? Like, it's amazing. I think everybody should at least experience it once because it's this unique little entity within Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, and you made it work. You
Yeah.
made it happen. That was incredible.
It's definitely very fun from a tech
Yeah.
standpoint.
There's a lot of movie magic going on in that little box. That's pretty much what I'll say.
That works though. That movie magic thing is that's what got it up and running. So congrats. That was good work, you guys.
Oh yeah. Also, a fun thing about that.
Yeah.
Nobody is moving. Well, I guess technically Owen's moving.
There's
doesn't
a
move.
little, yeah.
Yeah.
The gadget can move a little.
Yeah. So like everyone's just kind of doing like this sort of stuff all relative to each other, and then the whole rest of the world is coming at you.
Okay.
Yep.
Kind of like, you know how in movies whenever there's the driver sitting in the car like that and then you can see the thing on the side and it's just actually a giant piece of paper that they're like rolling to cause the illusion. That's basically what's going on.
My favorite on that is like the older movies where they're holding the wheel is like perfectly still, but in the background you see it just looks like they're doing hairpin turns.
Yeah.
It's like the rapids part in Super Adventure Box. Same thing with that was
Where the entire world is rotating around you.
It's fascinating. I've seen videos of if you watch it from a perspective that's not on the raft and you just watch the world just.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's real good.
We have tech, so we don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, but at the time that was the best answer.
Movie magic.
There was more on that instance too because it is the gift that keeps on giving. I remember you had added tech to follow someone else's camera. I think for episode 5.
Yeah.
When-
I actually added it for that instance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we used it in 5. Well, anyway,
I think I might have added it for that instance, and then 5 was like,
we
cool.
also would like this. Yes,
'Cause that happens.
That does happen.
Why, yes, I will have that.
Like
Thank
development overlaps enough that sometimes tech goes backwards. But yeah, for that one specifically, because the other players attach out on the Rain's wings, it looked kind of weird to have this offset camera because you're just kind of like this little helper object, and so the camera actually follows the visible instance owner player, even when you're not the actual instance owner. It's just kind of cool. It's neat tech. We use it every once in a while, and it's actually pretty cool to have a camera following something else.
Yeah. On the note of movie magic and tech, pretty much what seems to happen is like we want to do this thing, and then we try to get it as like piecemeal duct taped together as possible to make it work, and then these two beautiful human beings come in and they're like, let me make this easier for you. First that, and they're like, let us make this easier for you.
There's definitely
done?
a moment
Better
of
way to do it.
like, oh dear, what are you trying to do?
How did you make that work? That shouldn't do
Okay,
that.
okay, hold on.
It's just like a stack of pots and scotch tape. Look, it's a ladder.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem is I'm not lazy enough, and so I see it and go, well, that would actually be a pretty interesting challenge to solve. Let's do it. And I don't know, it gets me in trouble.
So you said you pulled that tech for episode 5?
I think it was used in there.
It was.
I think
it was used in the final
used
instance.
in. Yeah,
I'm
it was
curious
used in
now, so-
5.
So it
I
was
think
when
there was some looking at weak points or something.
it was whenever Kralkatorek would come in and turn his head, it would take all of the party members and have them use that singular camera, and then also at the points where like people would come in from the raft or the higher areas, and we would refocus the camera. I think that was using that tech, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot, you guys. I don't know if you were
It's
aware.
just- Yeah, I mean, think about it. We spent about half the time talking about one single instance, but then it spawns out all these other parts that get used all over the game.
Yeah,
So
it is
it's how things work.
How Guild Wars 2 works
Yeah.
is absolutely fine. That is great. Because this is all, I mean, we're talking about the past 12 months, and you 3 have pulled off a lot of amazing things. Everybody has, but that's like you said, you build this tower out of pots and pans and tape, and then they come in and turn it into something incredible.
Yeah. It's
So it's a neat collaborative effort to hear about. You mentioned there was a thing I wanted to talk with you about because this was such a fun player thing. you were talking about conventions, and please don't actually attack statues at conventions
Yeah, please
and
don't.
other people. It
That
was
would-
just an example.
People work
It's
hard
fine.
on those.
But you worked one of our conventions last year. You
Yeah,
worked our
I
PAX
worked
booth.
at PAX West. Yeah, for I think a few of the days, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
How was it?
It was actually really fun. You know, I like going to PAX and going to these conventions where you actually get to meet the people that play your game, you know, that you don't know, and you get to socialize with them, and they also get to meet the people who create the game. Like, it's a really humbling experience overall, because, I don't know, like, there was this day where there were a bunch of people in line, and I went to go talk to them just because, you know, making sure that nobody feels bored while they're in line.
Right.
And one of them had this really familiar voice, and I squinted really hard. I'm like, I think I know this person. So then I asked them, like, do you play on Henge Den Ravi? And then she was like, yeah. And then I was like, what guild are you in? And this is a hard shout out. And then she was like, VLK. And then I was like, Merg? And then she was like, because my in-game tag is pretty. She's like, pretty? And then it was just like, there was this huge moment of like the entire group, like in a millisecond, just tackled me. Because like they all knew that I was a dev. So they're like, oh, wow, this is actually him. Oh, my God. And moments like that are just absolutely amazing because, like I said, you get to meet the people that you've interacted with, the people that interact with the thing you create. And Guild Wars 2 has this beautiful community, so being able to actually meet members of that community is fantastic.
I'm kind of sad I didn't know that story until just now.
Yeah.
That is like, that's like my ideal kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, there goes my voice, so someone else is going to have to do the rest of this. That is incredibly cool. I did not know you met them there.
Yeah, it was an experience, to say the least. It was really
Aw.
fun.
I love that. Yeah, there are a lot of players that we see year after year at the same conventions. That's when we get to interact with them, and when we get, you know, I've been talking to you in game all the time, but here you are, and we actually get to talk to each other. I have a guildmate who lives kind of up around Bellingham,
Yeah.
and he'll come down to PAX just and we high five. That's
like-
here's your high
yeah.
five for the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to see him this year. I love hearing that you got to do that,
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really nice.
and having people standing in line and, you know, going to talk to them just so they don't get bored, and so you get to have that interaction as well, is a huge deal. San Diego Comic-Con last year, we were out there. We were in a parking lot. It was sunny. It was hot. Mark like has residual misery right now. He just like leaned out and was like, ugh. We were just sweltering all week, but it was the Guild Wars 2 people who came over there were absolutely the nicest people. Again, they're standing in line for literally hours at some points, out in a hot parking lot adjacent to SDCC. I did not hear a cross word. I think I heard one person complaining about how long it took over several days and hours of lines every day. And that's just, that part of our community is such a joy to me. And I love it. Thank you guys. So, well, I'll tell you what, let's let you guys get back to work. But is there anything that you want to tell our players before you leave? You don't have to, just if you do.
We're going to start on Jill's side this time.
I mean, kind of you deserve that.
Thanks for playing. Like,
That works.
please keep playing the game. It's cool. Keep enjoying our stuff. I don't know.
That works.
Seems good.
Yeah. You're awesome. Thanks for playing. Try to get your sky scale. It's worth it.
Oh, I love my sky scale. How much fun is it seeing like all of these sky scales hovering?
I like it.
After
yeah.
how long you all
It's-
worked on that?
It's delightful to see them in game now.
I love it.
My turn. Okay.
You
I
can just
mean,
be like, look, here's your plugin.
Well, I mean, like, echoing what they said, like, thank you, because we wouldn't be able to do this. Nobody in the studio would really be able to do this if it wasn't for all of our dedicated players and friends and fans who genuinely enjoy the things that we make. So, you know, thank you. And hopefully we can keep making things that make everybody happy, because that's what it's about.
All right. Well, before I let you all go, this is our last live stream in this room before construction starts. And we're going to be in a temporary home for 3 months. The temporary home, Mark and I have been talking about this, and we've been so excited. Our temporary home has a whiteboard for you. So you have to you have to come on, and you don't have to use MS Paint for a while.
I don't know. I feel like that went really well though. Like
It did. We're just excited to
kind of
see
a,
you.
kind of a stream highlight. It's just,
It was. It's so good.
I mean, to be fair, actually getting to see you do it in person, like working it out, is
just have to
pretty
move
amazing.
trees.
This is fantastic. So yes, we're very excited. That's like a little temporary amenity. And we also get to do a little bit of good-natured vandalism and have you all sign the wall before you leave because the wall's coming out. Brett's like, oh look, that's back there.
I wish we had a camera over there so Brett could just be like, this one.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all, and all of you stick around. We're going to be back with some more dev guests in a few minutes. All right, welcome back. We are continuing our anniversary celebration live stream with 3 more of our Guild Wars 2 developers. Why don't you guys go down the line and introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Joe Kimmis. I'm a designer on one of our content teams.
Hi, I'm Brett Nellermo. I'm a QA embed for one of our content teams.
Hey, I'm Cameron Rich, and I'm a game designer for Living World.
All right, well, welcome all 3 of you. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, happy
Congratulations. Yeah, this has been an exciting year. We've had a lot of awesome stuff that we did. I know Mike and I talked at the beginning. It's been kind of a rough year, but we are also celebrating all of the cool things we did. So I want to start by just talking about some of your favorite things that happened around the content releases you worked on this past year.
All right. Well, I know one of the releases I was here to talk about is Beetle Racing.
Yeah.
In, I think, November.
Yes.
It was a ton of fun to put together. I think one of my favorite things in it, I don't want to claim like my own content and things I scripted. One of my favorite moments in it was that we asked early on when we were like, all right, we can do Beetle Racing, but we're going to need rewards for it. And we're like, we really want a scarf. Can we get a scarf that so it'll trail behind you as you're on the Beetle and it'll look really good? And whenever we ask for stuff with cloth physics or like complicated things like that, usually the artists are a little bit, and QA is a little bit What's it gonna do if you're doing a flip? Um,
Stick straight out.
but we managed to get everyone signing off on that. I was like, when we started getting prototypes back on the scarf, and I was like, oh my god, it's real! I can have a scarf. This is great.
It's really funny. It never ceases to amaze me. It doesn't matter how many times I hear these stories or how long I've been here. The simplest seeming things have all of these, but what if? But what happens? Because it's not just, there's a tendency to draw this real world parallel. Like it's just a scarf. It's a simple strip of fabric. You put it on and it does its thing. Except no, you have to make it do all of its things.
Yeah, I think, was it the, I'm trying to remember the most ridiculous bug we had with the scarf during development. Or not even a bug, just like strangest looking scarf behavior. Definitely going off any of the like jumping mushrooms or jump pads that put you in like a spin animation. There were versions of it where like the scarf was stretching and forming spirals.
No, are you serious? That's amazing. Okay, so Brett, you gave like a really emphatic nod when Joe was like, yeah, QA was concerned.
Sometimes a little.
Yeah, that one, honestly, the artist did a great job, and there didn't end up being a ton wrong with it. The most crazy thing I can think of is there was some combination of adding and equipping and unequipping items that would make this scarf turn completely stiff and not animate at all.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And it would just stay that way?
Yes.
As
Until you
scarves
reload
do.
That sounds like a feature.
Yeah. Lots of starch.
Right. You've worn it too long.
You have the starch buff.
Related to roller beetle racing, not too long before that was our first re-release of Festival of the Four Winds for a very long time, and found out pretty early on that the new backpacks that we got for that, they're aspect backpacks. So they have this glowing crystal of the different colors representative of the different aspects of the Zephyrite. And that huge trail looks so good when you're going super fast on a roller beetle. Makes it look like Tron.
Yeah, because it's got like a glow behind you, but when you start going fast, it really becomes like a noticeable trail.
I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And then you said it looks like Tron, and I was like, I am in. I am here for this.
Where's that game mode?
Well,
Oh, we're gonna get sued! Yay! Okay, we can't actually call it that. Just
Got it.
well, what were some of besides the Tron game mode that accidentally happened? What were some of your favorite things about working on stuff this past year?
So I tested all of the second run of Legendary Weapons except for the first couple that came out with Heart of Thorns. And I always had in development, since I can put whatever item I want on my character, and I'm like, man, I really want this. And
I would love to have this on live.
Barely preventing myself from financially ruining myself by making all of the legendaries. I did make the greatsword though, because
did you? Exordium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
did
radical.
you?
Yeah.
That is my favorite legendary we've ever done.
It's
beautiful.
So
We-
cool how it changes forms depending on what animation you're wielding.
We ended up saving the greatsword for the last of the second set of legendaries, and we had so many meetings that we would sit down with like everyone and artists and be like, all right, like how are we topping Sunrise and Twilight, right? Because they're so cool looking, and they were some of the like most iconic legendaries.
But it also can't be too like them.
Right. We can't just make a green one.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's like, no, give us a green one.
Okay, you did that.
But and we finally were like, okay, what if it is a transforming weapon? Because it'll be real cool if when you swing it and do the circle attack, it's a scythe, right?
Yeah.
And again, like, okay, we're gonna have to go investigate that, but maybe we have the stuff to make that happen.
Yeah.
And it all started taking shape, and we're really, really excited about it.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw that legendary in the development client, and I knew Chelsea Mills was the one that was working on it, and I pinged her. I was like, "Oh my God, was this you? Did you do all of this? Because if so, you're my favorite person." And she was like, "Yeah. Do you want to see the Excel sheet that I have that I had to go through for all of the different animations.
Oh no.
And it's bonkers. She put in a lot of work
Yeah, because
into it.
we had this list to try to make sure that like every class's different greatsword animations all had something going on, that we weren't like, because left to my own devices, I'd be like, oh, they can all be scythe, and then there's no transforming. It's just
That's extremely cool. The one that I really loved and still haven't made, but I want to, is the Scepter. The Scepter, how was that to work on? Was that more complicated since you have a little friend now?
Man.
oh yeah,
I
yeah. What is it?
Zaquatl.
Zaquatl.
There was a ton of work that the artist had to do and some black magic stuff to get that snake to follow correctly. But I looked it up this afternoon. I think we had 11 bugs on it total.
It does work on mounts, right? Or am
Yeah.
I misremembering?
There is if you have a legendary equipped and then you mount up without exiting combat stance, then some effects will stick around, which includes like the sort of pet friends, both Zaquatl and Ippos. Binding of Ippos has that as well.
I remember on Zaquatl in particular, there were some crazy bugs that happened where, like, if you mounted up on like the roller beetle or something and started going really fast, the little like flying snake would both like be trailing behind you, but also like all over the place.
That sounds a little hummingbird-like, but scary.
The way that we built that, if I remember correctly, is we had to add bones to the player rig so that it would animate with the player, right?
They're on the player rig, but extended like 300 feet in the air and like set up like a pendulum. So it
there were
swings
there were
around.
different versions of it that
Yeah.
had like, we're like, okay, it'll just be a special effect that's playing on you, and now like it's scaled weird on Asura or whatever. And yeah, I think that was the version they finally settled on to make it look the best.
Oh wow. Your little snake friend trailing behind just sounds like he's just back there huffing up. Please, please.
If you haven't looked at it, you should look it up because it's so cute.
It is
Like-
adorable.
The prototype version just sort of looked like a crate with some harpy wings on the sides of it, and to see it go from that to the cutest snake in the universe was
Right.
And that
really
was
fantastic.
that was the other problem we ran into, was like the legendary after that, whatever it was. We were like, okay, like what do we do for this one? Like what makes it special? And we're like, it has a snake pal. And we're like, they can't all have little flying snakes.
Why not? I like to just put a snake pal on it.
Right.
It's fine.
We'll just eventually have enough snakes for like each element. They'll be like little mini elder dragons.
Continue, because I'm into this. Well, how about you, Cameron?
Oh man, I think I was actually going to talk a little bit about Roller Beetle Racing just because it had such like I played so much more of that game mode than I think I played of any of our little adventures or activities, and I used to be like the best at the Karka. What is
Carcabole?
the Karkabole
Or
where you like have to
Crab
grab
toss?
onto it? Thank you. Yes, crab toss. It's been forever since I played
I
that
think
one.
it's called Carcabole on some internal file.
Internal names are my bane.
But oh man, Roller Beetle Racing was just it's just so much fun to like finally have reasons to really show off your mastery over that mount because it has such a like high potential for skill. But I also know that a lot of the bugs that came out of like finding out that there's a resource node on
Yeah,
this
that was
just-
a fun
yeah, I
one.
remember
So
that.
so the Brisbane Wildlands race, we always knew it was one of the harder races, right? Because it's long. So if you're looking at like, what is it, 2-minute, 3-minute laps,
Something like that.
and you're doing 3 laps, there are many opportunities to lose speed or like, oh, you screwed up, you didn't make that corner quite right, and now everyone's ahead of you. And we sort of envisioned it as like, this is the endurance one, right? This is the long race where there's a lot of opportunities to get ahead or fall behind. But we didn't anticipate there's a section of it through a little canyon, and at no point during development did this happen. But the resource nodes on the map spawn in semi-random locations, and one of those spawns can put a logging node just smack in the middle of this section. And it's right in the middle of like a little shortcut under a larger route that you would like to take. and it'll just perfectly block you.
You just run smack into a tree.
And yes, we released it, and people are like, "Oh God, I hate this stump so much," and I'm like, "What?" Like I don't even. And we go look, and sure enough, I'm like, "Oh my God."
And you've been testing this over and over and over for so long. It's like, it's just the worst luck.
Right. And
Your scarf gets tangled in the tree. It's like a whole thing.
yeah, and there were other routes that were actually a problem on that course as well, where there's a series of routes that had their like visibility distance set very low for some reason in the map. So you'd only see this big old tree root when you were just about on top of it.
And there's nothing.
And you'd
there's
smack
nothing
into
you can
it.
do at that point.
And that one, like I had seen happen to me a couple times where I was like, oh wow, that root just popped up. But I was like, well, like I'm on a test machine. It's handling a bunch of other stuff, so it's always a little slow. It's probably just my graphics settings.
Oops.
Yeah, and it wasn't. But fortunately, we were able to have an artist go in there, and he was like, oh yeah, this actually is, like, it's marked as foliage that wouldn't actually block you. Right, so it was more like, grass or flowers or something that, sure, it's fine to have it only show up when you get pretty close to it.
Yeah. Except it kind of did.
A lot of older maps, they're just not quite used to things moving as fast as the roller beetle.
Yeah, when they were developing the roller beetle, they had a whole lot of fun going through old maps and being like, okay, does anything even actually like load in time for us to get to it on the beetle?
But you were able to catch that and correct it, which is always fun to see.
Well, within a little bit of time,
Yes.
some people definitely suffered slamming into those objects.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you for fixing it then.
Yeah, but yeah, we had a lot of fun making roller beetle racing. We learned a lot. This was largely inspired by as soon as we added the beetle, we had a lot of players who were like, "All right, when are the beetle races?" And we really wanted to add some, because back in Guild Wars 1, we had the roller beetle races on Lunar New Year, and
Those were
I
fun.
really, really loved that mini game. Like, for a while, and I guess maybe this is still the case, I'm the fastest Guild Wars 1 roller beetle racer in ArenaNet. I'm not the fastest in the world, but I was, I think, top 10
Were you
the first
really?
year.
That rings a bell. I feel like I've heard this before.
Well, I bring it up whenever the opportunity arises.
You should, because some of us are very bad at it, and we'll just admire you.
So I had a lot of affection for that game type, and as soon as we were talking about, like, even as soon as we were saying, hey, the next expansion is going to go to Alona, and I was like, so are we getting the roller beetles back?
And they said, Joe, you're not even in this meeting.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Do you remember the sound effect that the roller beetles made in GW1?
Oh yeah, they have this squeaking effect on every attack, and this was actually something that this is another thing I forced in back in the day, was we got them as a ranger pet eventually. I think it was a reward for 1 year of the racing. You could get tokens and trade them to unlock the ranger pet, and it might have been Joel who worked on the mount.
Probably.
One of our people had a whole team of heroes and themselves who all had the roller beetle pet. So there's 8 of them on the field, and all of them are like constantly making this squeaking noise whenever they attack. It was really something.
I can just hear it right now. Just a bunch of like.
It sounds like it was either glorious or incredibly annoying. I'm leaning toward glorious, and I want to experience this.
Yeah,
Gloriously annoying.
it was bearable
good.
for a time.
It was really something. Well, I'm glad you got to get roller beetle racing back into Guild Wars 2. I have fun with it. I'm not going to win any races anytime soon, but I'm
Yeah,
that
and
one.
that-
You know how like you take the curve and like one idiot is like spinning way out here. Hi.
So, a funny story there, involving someone who's here. Right when we added the roller beetle, was around when we first had it on the test servers, and maybe a little after that. But we were also working on the Return of Festival of Four Winds, and so we were like, oh well, like since we're bringing it back, we'll add some new mount races, right? We wanted to like bring it up to current standards, refresh things a little, mounts of the thing, and we're like, okay, can we have a roller beetle race in this? Well, it's not out yet, right? I think episode 3 came out a little bit before the festival. So for developing it, we were like, well, it's not released. They might still change things. The roller beetle might be like faster tomorrow or slower tomorrow. Let's not build a race around it, right? But even internally, as soon as we had these mount races, so we were setting up the mount race in Crown Pavilion, and we have a playtest going, and everyone's in the little starting section, and I'm sitting there, and like 60% of the people there are on roller beetle. And I'm like, oh no, this is not a roller beetle race. Like they're gonna go into the lava, right? Because the first bit of it is a big straightaway, and so everyone hits their boost.
I remember,
And then there is like a right angle turn.
Oh, I know.
Down a hill, and we get feedback from Cameron over here where he's like, I failed that turn so bad that I went out the instance. Because that's where the portal is that turn. And so he turned and like drifted and slid up the hill.
Just shot right out the door
and shot into the loading screen. And so you can't see it now. You'll have to go check next year when Festival of Thorns returns. But Crown Pavilion has a set of boxes on that turn. So that as long as there's a set of boxes we put there. So as long as you made a good faith effort to hit that turn, even if you're on roller beetle, those will stop you so that you don't go up the hill.
Oh man.
I'm just picturing that making it to life and like 40 players spawning out there right outside the door. Like
just the roller beetles sailing out the portal, you know.
Yes. And from inside, just all those roller beetles shooting up the ramp, and they're gone. We're done here.
That was the most frustrating, but also like I was laughing for a solid like 5 minutes at my desk because it's just you're going really fast, you turn, you're like, you just go straight out the portal.
Literally gone. That is an amazing story. I'm so glad you told it. I love that.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me, one of my favorite things that I saw, jumping back to the routes blocking people in roller beetle racing, was we had a couple screenshots of players helping each other out by, there was a player who had transformed themselves into the really large candy corn elemental and was standing on those routes so that you had this kind of traffic cone effect, right? Where
Mark is dying over there.
You'd see because they would render first, right? You'd see them and be like, oh no, I gotta go around. It would, because half the time I'd be like, oh, like this time I'm definitely around those routes, no big deal. And then right into it.
Right.
But there were players who were taking it upon themselves to serve as a
traffic cone,
physical marker.
That's amazing. The coloring's perfect.
I think that is just a great representation of how our community comes together to solve problems.
Right.
You know?
Right.
God, this job is weird. But it is. It's like, okay, I will be the candy corn elemental that stands here. Like, danger.
I'm going to be the traffic cone.
I will be the traffic cone today. I will lay down my life for all of you. That's fantastic. I love it. I do want to, there's another non-roller beetle note. Mm-hmm. That is one of my favorite Guild Wars 2 moments that I wanted to make sure we touched on because it was with Cameron. It's a good thing. It's okay. It's fine. I seem to find out everything important, like when I bump into somebody in a common area here or in the kitchen and just like start chatting. That's how I found out. I found out about Air's death down on the 4th floor in a common area. Spoilers. But I found out about the end of episode 5 from Cameron, I think probably in early 2018. Mm-hmm. It was a while, but you were the one telling me this is the thing that we're working on, and we are all killing ourselves trying to figure out how to do this exactly right because it's Aureen.
Yeah.
And players love her, and this is a huge moment. And that's how I found out what was going to happen to her, so that hurt. But that conversation with you was like one of my favorite work moments because I actually already had my backpack. I was like on my way out the door and I was like, I don't care. There's more buses. let's tell me more. But hearing about the development side of how important it was that we get this right was incredible. Was one of my favorite conversations.
Yeah, that was a. I'm really glad that had such an effect on you, because there are times where, especially when you're dealing with such an emotionally impactful moment, once you've gone through it about 500 times, it kind of just loses all of the
Right?
impact on you, and you just have to trust that it's not terrible.
You're just like, I'm dead inside.
And it's great to have so many people here in the studio that you can go to that haven't seen the content before, right? And so many people who are invested in the character, invested in the story, that you're like, so I'm doing this thing to one of your favorite characters, your child, actually. How would you feel if,
That's a nice baby dragon you got there.
Yeah.
It would be a shame.
Well, I remember there were so many like big moments in that mission, and
Jeez,
we
right.
would see like pieces of it coming together, and it was so exciting. And I remember there's a big scene there when Kragatoric like busts through the wall, and is finally like in that environment. He's here, and we have to do this. And I remember seeing a really early version of that where like the artists were still working on the big Kragatoric model, and he busts through the wall, and he's like entirely unskinned. He's just blue.
Is this when he blew the big red bubble?
Maybe. And I was still like, whoa, okay, like I can see how great this is gonna be. Because even then, with him just being this like, kind of like temped in version, you were like, okay, Kragatoric is here.
Yeah, that was definitely. It was really inspiring to see it, like, even in that really early stage. Just like the artists were so passionate about what they were doing, right? And they were like, okay, this has the potential to be epic. We are going to go all in and just make this as epic as possible. And then, even with moments with like the gigantic red bubble that he starts casting when we were prototyping
right.
out his big attack that he does
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
the end, like it's hilarious because he like blows up a bubble and then boom, it's like a traffic cone goes towards you. But it's still in those moments you're like, man, we're doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things that hit home for me when you and I were talking about Oreen's death, is that it's more than a year out, and everybody is heads down and working so many people are working so incredibly hard on making sure we get this right, and it's so far out. It is so far away. And the commitment is astounding constantly to me. I did see the unskinned one that you were talking about. And it was like the big red bubble showing the attack animation was kind of funny, but it was also at the same time giving us a sense of scale and how huge, and like the big piles of rubble hitting when he burst through the wall was all of that, even unskinned and just, like low poly, weird looking models this is enormous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, big shout out to all of the artists, James Barwick, Kyle Bash, Ron Harvey, and Marcus Jackson, just like all working together on making that scene just super ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was
Something
incredible.
we've probably never done before.
What were you going to say, Jim?
Oh, just I was remembering the amount of time that went into the Kragatoric model, just for episode 5 and 6, and like it was the big finale, and we're like, well, like spare no expense on Kragatoric, right? It's an older dragon.
Yeah.
But it reminded me, in Dragon Bash, which we brought back this year, we have holographic Kragatoric flying around, and part of that was that we were like, hey, like we want to set up the like cool holographic dragon again. I think it was the Shatterer before. And the artists were like, hey, like if we make holographic Kragatoric for you, you'll use that, right? Because we really want to use the Kragatoric model again.
Yeah.
Because we've spent so much time on it.
Not very many opportunities anymore.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, how much can you do with that? Oh, you can make big holographic one for Dragon Bash.
And I immediately became concerned for performance because I know
So-
how huge that is.
Thank you for thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, and we were like, and we got the holographic Kragatoric, and we were like, all right, so what if we let you get this as a guild hall decoration? And Brett became concerned for performance again.
Thank you again for thinking about that.
You can place
The-
lots of guild decorations.
One of the most incredible things I've seen in our test client was Brett had 20 or 30,
Oh no, I had
many?
500.
500 holographic Crocotorics set up in his guild hall, like maxed out the guild hall capacity with holographic Crocotorics. And the sky above your guild hall is just this writhing mass of holographic Crocotoric. Like
We have a new best sentence.
all you can see is just this giant, like, because he flies in a circle, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like
So if you took the time to place them all out, then they would be off sequence from each other, and it was just like a ceiling. There was a ceiling,
Yeah.
and above the ceiling was just dragon limbs and heads flailing around.
This is
well,
incredible.
and then if you leave your guild hall and load back in, then now they're all matched up on timing, and it's just one like super Crocotoric who no longer looks holographic. He's just blue and dense.
So, okay, but how is performance?
Oh, it was fine.
Actually, fine.
Okay.
And
It
that's so
didn't- no
we're like, hey,
problems.
like even the very very wealthy players who choose to make their guild hall like full Crocotoric,
And look crazy.
it'll be okay. It doesn't crash.
That is incredible, the edge cases that you try to create. And I mean that in the best way. That is, I'm so sad that I never saw that, but I'm going to try to make it happen on a dev client.
Another issue that we ran into with that guild decoration is so Kralkatork is very large and takes up a lot of space when he's flying around. And the way that we determine like the bounding box for a guild decoration is like any of the animations, no matter how far out that goes. That's where the edge of the guild decoration is technically. And you can't put a guild decoration on your waypoint. There is no place in any guild hall where you could put that decoration where it didn't collide someplace with the waypoint.
Yeah, so I
Oh,
hooked this
no.
decoration up, and I'm like, all right, Brett, this is ready for testing. Like, I think it's going to work. I think we're going to have Guild Hall Kralkatorrik. And the build goes through, Brett comes back, and he's like, so I can't place it anywhere because it's too close to the waypoint.
So what did it do? It just said, no, you can't.
Yeah,
Just was
you can't place this on a waypoint.
Well, you're
Even
like,
if you
but
were
I'm
like
not.
in the ceiling or all the way off to the side or underground, you couldn't place
I
it
am
any
4
place.
miles away from the nearest waypoint, please. So what did you do?
So the way it actually works is we split the model apart so that you place just the base, and it's only sized based on the like holographic base projector. And then once the base projector is spawned in, it creates the circling thing that has the giant Kralkatorrik
Okay.
projection. So that's not counted against your waypoint proximity.
It's crafty.
It's the movie magic Nick was talking about in the last segment.
Right.
Wow, that is like I wouldn't have even thought of that. You just assume, well, clearly it's only the base. No.
Yeah. Well, and it was one of those things where we're like, okay, like, can we not do it? Like, we had
Unacceptable.
had to think of
Yeah.
something creative to
It
work
was a real
around that.
question.
Oh wow, that's wild. Okay, so I honestly thought when you were talking about putting the holographic Kralkatorrik in there, I honestly thought you were going to tell the Gordon story.
Oh yeah.
But would you please?
So
Because I honestly want to know how that came to be.
so we got to make sure this is the right story. Because so we were revisiting Dragon Bash, and we're like, all right, we're gonna bring it up to modern festival standards, try to get a whole bunch of new content in there. Because the original Dragon Bash, one of the big things that happened during it was this murder mystery with one of the Lion's Arch captains
Wow, that
being
was a
killed.
while back.
And it was the introduction
Oof,
of
the
the
nostalgia.
Aetherblade pirates. And we were like, okay, well, the problem with Dragon Bash, because we had revisited the idea a couple times, we're like, let's bring back Dragon Bash. And we're like, okay, well, the big problem is that about 90% of the Dragon Bash content is a murder mystery, and we cannot kill a captain every year. It's unsustainable.
It's a fantastic consideration.
It's really
We're gonna
bad
run
luck,
out of
right?
captains.
I mean, we can do a pirate election every time, I guess, but like that's a lot of dialogue to be writing.
I
you know?
have feelings about that, and I feel like there's people about to bust in this door and go, "No."
don't even mention it. I mean, all right, I won't.
Goodness.
I won't talk about like other outcomes of the pirate election and fractals we could have done. We'll move on. So Dragon Bash. So we were revisiting it and looking at what do we need to add, and we're like, all right, one of our festival standards is we have Gordon the Racing Choya, who's involved in every festival race, or in the case of Four Winds, he's lounging on the beach. But we've done like a reskin of him because giving the Choya hats or costumes is kind of just inherently funny.
Well, yeah. I like it when they try to wear bikinis.
Because the start of it was that we were like, we were working on Halloween. Path of Fire had kind of just happened, and we're like, oh, we want to have like, can we get a Halloween Choya where they're like a pumpkin? And I think it was Chelsea who was like,
Yep.
Here, have this Choya who is wearing a pumpkin. And I'm like, that is better than I imagined.
Another shout out to Chelsea Mills. Other than the SAB Gordon and the Dragon Bash Gordon, all of them have been Chelsea Mills.
Wow, go Chelsea.
And so for Dragon Bash, we were like, all right, we really want Gordon wearing the Dragon Bash helmet, right? Because we've got this great like horned dragon helmet. We're like, that's going to look incredible. And we got him back and put him in the race. And then another thing that we've always done with him in the races is having the NPCs in the festival races. We kind of have the goal of like, some of the NPCs are showing you the course. If you're not going the right way or on the slow side, you can always look at them, even if there aren't a bunch of players around.
Yeah, I find it very helpful, actually.
And we first added Gordon in the Halloween race, and I decided like, all right, the funny thing with him is he's not going to show you the correct way. He's gonna like go the wrong way because he's this little cactus person wearing a pumpkin. Like,
if you trust him as the source of truth, which I did at one point. I was like, oh, it's an NPC. They're gonna follow.
Yeah,
Everybody's
so
gone.
he goes very fast because he's always off course. So he
Yeah.
has to like work his way back around to even see him.
Right.
But yeah, so the joke there was that like he just takes the first corner and goes right instead of left. And he's playing by his own rules.
Gordon marches to
maverick.
the beat of his own drummer.
Right. So we wanted to have him do something kind of fun in Dragon Bash with that race. And what ended up happening is he runs along the course. He's kind of weaving around a little. And he gets to the Dragon Arena area where we have NPCs fighting these holographic vine tooth, and you can go in and fight the holographic monsters. It's its own instance.
Super fun, by the way.
And when we first talked about the Dragon Arena, we're like, all right, so you'll fight holographic bosses, and we had a kind of short list of like, okay, it'll be all like Dragon Minion champions, right? Like, who do we want? And we actually had a larger list than made it to the game. Initially, because we're like, all right, how about like Axemaster Harith from Heart of Thorns? And he's actually really annoying to fight. And with the time we had and with the quality we wanted to hit, we ended up saying, okay, one champion for each dragon. Harith is also always shouting about axes and stuff, so.
I mean, he's the axe master.
Right.
I know what you want.
That's his thing. But at some point, we had on the whiteboard, oh, like, we'll have you fight holographic Gordon. Like, and we're like, you can't fight Gordon. We're like, no, he's riding the holographic wyvern. And then once you beat the wyvern, he jumps off, and you have to fight him, except he goes down in like one hit.
Do you want to spoil what that boss's name was going to be?
You want to go for it, Brett?
Oh.
Gordremoth.
Yeah, we were really far in the design on this boss.
My day is ruined by the fact that this did not happen. Like everything, I'm done. I need to fight
maybe
Gordremoth.
someday.
I want him to be like this big and have like 4 kabillion health.
Right, but we wanted to like. At some point, I was determined to get at least a little bit of that in the game.
Yeah.
So Gordon runs over to the Dragon Arena, and you have to stay behind a little and watch him. And he'll cheer a little, and then if you look behind him, this holographic wyvern swoops down out of nowhere, and like
Just yoinks him.
it blasts through him. And if you look, he's like. He does a little like shadow step animation, and he's on top of it, and it flies away. And it took a whole lot of me sitting there playing that scene over and over again to tune it. Because there was a version where, like, there's just enough space there for the wyvern has this very big animation where it spirals down out of the air and then, like, goes back up. And we had a version where it was just crashing through this mountain and then coming out of it, which is fine because it's a hologram. But to make it look as good as possible, we wanted to try to not, rock the boat on that. But one of the funniest moments of developing it, and this will happen on live, depending on the timing, was I'm sitting there trying to capture screenshots to show everyone this scene of the wyvern
Right.
flying down and grabbing Gordon, flying away. And as Gordon goes flying up, a holographic Kralgatoric is there. And it looked so much like Gordon was flying up to go fight Kralgatoric that I fell over laughing.
He's our hero.
Right.
He's going to take care of this.
Yeah, he's fending off holographic Kralgatoric. We were able to eventually defeat real Kralgatoric, but holographic Kralgatoric
Bless
continues
his little heart.
unopposed.
He means so well.
So it sounds like we have an idea for next year's Dragon Match then.
You have time. It's fine.
Sure.
Okay, and my favorite part, because I had talked to Joe about this so much, because he brought it to my attention. I was like, I want to share this with everybody. I want all of our players to see it. We ended up sharing it on our social media channels, and Joe had walked me through this like over and over and over, helping me find exactly where to go, pointing out the spiral animation. But what I wasn't aware of until I finally got there and was able to see it and had my headset on, his little chatter vanishing into the sky. That was I think I laughed for like 5 minutes. I'm dying at my desk. I'm like making squeaking noises and everybody's like, what? I was like, there's like a Doppler effect. And then he's just gone, you guys. It was, every little thing about that was so perfect.
And he comes back. If you, so we don't know what Gordon is up to for most of that mount race.
Finding
He's off having adventures, but in time to finish the mount race, although I don't think he hits all the checkpoints,
Pretty sure
he'll
doesn't.
appear from the north entrance of Holbrack, the zone line, and run back to join the rest of the NPCs at the finish line.
Really?
So I think he actually
Was here the whole
finishes.
time.
If it's only the NPCs running, I think Gordon finishes in like second or third. Like, he does fairly well. I don't know what the judges will have to say about that,
I think
but
they're probably all on the ground laughing.
but he reaches the finish line.
That's amazing.
And that was the great thing was I was telling. Initially, I had him like immediately reappear, right? So he flies up, disappears on the wyvern, bang, like shows back up again. But I had to time it out based on how long the race would be, and so we have this test pass that's like,
gosh.
all right, so Gordon will show up about 6 minutes after he disappears. Make sure of that, like. Because if he doesn't show back up, then like he won't be there on the next race, and this has to cycle. So
I want him to come back looking a little like dented and banged up, like maybe like one of the horns is bent. And
Right, well,
he's
the
got like some scratches.
we
What
don't know what.
happened to
Yeah,
you?
we don't know what happens to the holographic wyvern.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Where have you been? I don't know, but I've
There are
went through some
untold
stuff.
stories.
Sacrifice to make a new helm.
Ugh.
That could be where the helm comes from. It's a.
Recapitulated. What do you do to turn a hologram non-holographic?
Right. Well, there's no time travel involved, but like I'm thinking it's one of those like closed loop, right? Like the holographic wyvern gives its life to save Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
Aw.
and he gets the wyvern helmet, but then later he meets the same wyvern. They become friends, and that's the.
I think this was a legend that was passed down from the Norn. It sounds very familiar. I just don't think anybody expected it to be a Choya.
Choya
It sounded
spirit.
Nornish. Norn-like. All right. Well, let's. I want to hear about some of your favorite player reactions that you've seen over content that you worked on. We can start at either end. You can throw whoever in or the middle.
Well, I have one on the top of my head, so I'll go first. But maybe this is like. So I love seeing whenever we get fan art for anything, or
yeah.
like people taking our content and making a video out of it. My favorite thing that I saw that was roller Beetle racing was someone's gonna have to help me with the name of this type of racing. There's the
Formula One.
no, we had some Formula One jokes in there, but a player made a video of one or two of the tracks in roller beetle racing, done in the style of, I think it's like rallycross or God. All the racing fans in the audience are like, this guy doesn't understand at all.
And you will remember it
so
too in the
it's,
morning.
It's this two-man racing format where you're going through a course and you have one person driving and one person reading out.
Double dash.
No, that's where one person is throwing shells. This is where one person is.
I was like, wait a minute.
One person is reading out the course instructions. Like, okay, 45 feet ahead, shallow left, into shallow right. And if you ever watch it, they do this very neat kind of like monotone, because they don't want to you don't want to rattle the driver by being like, oh God, 90-degree right?
Yeah.
You don't want
right now.
So the instructions are coming at a very specific pace and a very specific tone and very specific language. Like, it's always shallow left means something very specific, right? And they did this with a roller beetle course. So it's this person steering the roller beetle around and them doing all of the voice instructions, like, okay, 90 feet ahead, shallow left, slow jump over lava. And it was just
I like
I was
that so
cracking
much.
up because you have all the fantastic elements, right? Of there'll be a 50-foot drop.
Right into a volcano. Yeah,
Right.
just it's perfectly normal. That's so awesome.
Mind the rampaging destroyers ahead. But just very calm, very
It's your car's
very
GPS.
measured. Yeah.
That's fantastic. If you still have, I don't know that I saw that. I would love to though. If
Yeah, I'm sure
if you
we
find a link later.
Yeah. We'll
please
have to
let me
dig
know.
that up.
Awesome. How about you, Brett?
One of my favorite things was shortly after release seeing a Dolphy guide go up. Just having
That fast.
yeah, the fact that there was somebody who was so dedicated that they would make a guide for a thing that you had worked this long
Yeah,
on.
the content never quite feels real to me until we see player guides and until it appears on the official wiki.
Yeah, once it's on the wiki, then it's good
We
stuff.
still have something
Right.
that's not on the wiki. I'm so mad.
Well, and that's the thing, is sometimes you go back and check because you're like, we
people
we
haven't-
hit a little secret here or there, and you're like, have players found it yet? Because if they've found it, then it must be documented.
And they haven't.
Well, I don't think it's something they haven't found, but there's some undocumented.
Yeah. It didn't make a splash. That's fine.
I want to know about this later.
Yeah, later. Related to fan art, there is somebody who 3D printed a Binding of Epos book,
I
and
saw
they
that.
3D
I saw
printed a Zaquatl, both the little snake on a stand and a separatable scepter that you can put with it.
Oh
if
my
you
gosh, I love it.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
great.
that's seeing that kind of thing absolutely fills me with joy. I love it so much. Because everybody's so talented. You guys are amazing. Oh. How about you?
Well, the one that sticks out in my head and I think will probably stick out for the rest of my life is the responses that we saw to Orion's fate, as it were, at the end of episode 5. I remember everybody in the office that day was watching all of the different streamers, was in-game talking to players and hearing their reactions to different parts of the story as they were going through that episode. And it took about an hour and a half to 2 hours before people really started getting up to the end of the episode, where we knew, okay, here's where all
It's
the
happening.
emotional
Yeah.
moments are going to happen.
Yeah, and we're
Here's
just
where
like-
people are going to cry.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh no, here we go.
Yep. We're going to ruin some lives today. It's fine.
In a good way.
It's in a way that is beneficial. And I just remember seeing people go into that instance, seeing him bust through the wall, and having the same reactions that we had internally, but for them it was the first time and it was all polished and just
Yeah.
completed, right? And so getting all of that adrenaline and just yeah, we're gonna go kill Kralkatorix, just all of it there.
One of my favorite reactions I remember seeing I don't even remember who it was, but
Yeah.
there's a scene in that instance when Kralkatorrik is like gonna blast you, and
Mhm.
Bram is like, "I'll block it, I got this," and there's someone like, "Ooh, I don't know about that, Bram."
You might be pushing it a little bit too far. This is an Elder Dragon. Yeah, it was whew, it was a roller coaster, and then seeing the final walk, where your camera is pulled in.
That was brutal.
And
The
you get
visibility is
you
low.
get that feeling that like they're not gonna be doing this like walk scene and special camera
Yeah.
just because I'm gonna round the corner and everything is great.
Yeah. No, there's that unsettling feeling, and,
Yeah.
and seeing it in all of the different players' faces, and then just like talking to people after they had come out of the instance, and they were like, I feel empty.
I am not
I am
okay.
drained.
Yeah.
It's it was both like I felt bad because it's like, oh, you're so sad, I'm so sorry, but at the same time, it's like those are the moments, those are the moments that we look for whenever we're making games in general. It's just to have that like intense emotional reaction.
Yeah, it means you did it well. Yeah, there were so many aspects of that walk at the end. And we've talked about this, but like that stumble and fall that was so hard. And it wasn't like, oh, let's just put the player in a kneeling animation. Like this was a hard, physically painful fall, and it resonated. Every tiny little thing, and the echoes you could hear, the audio, everything, the ambient sound was just incredible. And yeah, all of us were watching. We were all watching anybody play that we could.
Yeah, there were a lot of tears, even just around the office, seeing people's reactions. It's it's a lot.
I don't remember who it was, but there was a stream that a lot of us were watching where they were making that walk, and it came around right to where it trips Timey's voice, and she just went, "Nope, no, no," and she was, "No, I'm not going any further. Sorry, I'm not going to do it." It's like it was incredible. It was hard to watch, and it was wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm right there with you.
I think we actually do have a kind of a sizzle reel put together, as much of a sizzle reel as it can be, with that moment of just
the
all of
sizzling
the
of
different
tears.
people's reactions. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the crying reel, and I think we've still got that somewhere around on our like internal drives. So I'm gonna have to pull that up whenever we come around to the anniversary of that particular scene.
Oh.
We can relive that moment again.
Okay, make a note for Guild Chat. This is the one where you bring Kleenex and we all cry together.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I will let you all get back to work. But first, is there anything that you want to say to our players that you didn't get to before you leave? You don't have to.
I mean, as always, thanks for playing the game. It's great seeing everyone running around in game playing the content. It's great seeing everyone sharing their fan art and fan works on the forums, and it's incredibly motivating,
Yeah, it is.
I do want to so we mentioned the undocumented cat content, and I want to at least put
We
people
didn't say it was cat content, but no.
I think we said it was cat content. So I want to put people on the right track so that they're not losing their minds fishing for something.
Okay.
Because it's not big. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's the cat vendor who has these special cat accessories in Radosum, and next to her is a book cart full of cat books. And every couple weeks, I go check to see if the wiki has fully documented. There's a web of cat books there, and how you can, because you look at one book and then it'll say look at the next book, or look at the book, look at a random book, and there's this whole net of looking from book to book.
Okay.
And there's an undocumented book. There's a book that people haven't found
I think
about
there's
cats.
multiple. I made a flowchart
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, and we had this.
You made a flowchart for
well,
that?
He had
That's
to,
awesome.
He had to test it. He was like, okay,
Okay.
so I think here's all the cat books in this flowchart. Did I get them all? Because we don't want to have text that went out untested or
Yeah.
unchecked. So I'm always hoping that that last couple books will get
I hope there's a
uncovered.
flurry of people running for Rada Soup right now. If there's a big crowd at this book cart anytime soon, somebody send me a screenshot.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping that gets documented today now.
Yeah. Well, and because we spent a little time when we added that vendor, we were like, all right, so the vendor appeared on the wiki, and we're like, okay, it's real content. This is great. And then I'm like,
Now it's
I'm waiting for the book cart because I think it's really funny. Like I got to make up a whole bunch of cat novels.
All I can think is I would like to unsubscribe from Cat Facts.
It really is.
Kevin. Except these are Cat Facts that I want. All right, so how about you, Brett? I'm sorry, Kevin. Are you okay?
I will echo Joe's first sentiment. Thank you for playing. It's been super fun getting to Cooking 500 with everyone. And I'll see you in game.
And yes, Cooking 500 is so much fun. Sorry, carry on.
I've got to jump in and do that.
You can cook globes of stuff. It's great.
Globes of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Globes.
This is what's the term for it? Like
Spherified.
there we go.
Spherified. All right.
It looks like huge boba. It's kind of weird, but it's fun.
Okay. I'm at 425, so I think I
Yeah,
can
we're at
jump
the we're at the
straight in.
cutting edge of cooking here at this point.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. The community is why we make this game, and so it's even in like the times where game development's hard, and it gets really emotionally taxing, and there's a lot of different influencers that we usually don't see whenever we release the content that have happened throughout the development cycle, and it just seeing the reactions and seeing the love that the community has for the game and the world, the characters, and each other really makes it worth it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all. We've been mentioning this at the end of every segment. This is our last live stream in this room before construction starts. We're going to have another one. It's okay. It's just not going to be for a while. So we're going to do temporary place. But this wall is coming out. So please grab a Sharpie and sign that on your way out.
All right.
And because we're going to keep that chunk of wall.
Yeah.
Also, so sign on this side, not by the thermostat, because
Isn't that wall kind of important? Like
no, it's going away.
Oh, okay.
Surprise!
Okay.
So, all right. Thank you all. You all stick around. We have 3 more devs coming on. And welcome back. We are continuing our anniversary live stream with three more of our dev guests. Happy anniversary, you guys! Congratulations!
Yay!
I'm gonna do a tiny bit of housekeeping really quick. The one on the left is me. The one in the middle is all of us.
Cool.
The one on the right is the three of you.
Excellent. So
We were
where's
like-
mine though? That just
No
focuses
close-up on
me.
Clay.
Oh, that's
You
the
didn't get
GoPro.
that?
It's
Okay.
the GoPro.
Okay. All right. Got it.
GoPro's you.
Sweet. Great.
Yes. So we were like in 5-second countdown, and somebody was like, "I don't know where to look," and I realized I
of
forgot to
them.
tell them. Okay.
Just quickly dart between the three.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So why don't I have you guys introduce yourselves real quick?
Sure. I'm Kirk Williford. I'm a designer on Guild Wars 2 on the Living World team.
I am Kevin Freeman, also a designer on the Living Worlds team.
I'm Clayton Kisco. I'm a team lead on Guild Wars 2.
Yay. All right. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you worked on over the past year? Please, not what you're working on now.
Oh,
No.
I came so prepared for that. A couple days too early. Past year, primarily it was on A Star to Guide Us, episode 4, in which I did, along with Eric, who was on earlier, and started a war of opinions of snacks.
Just like two snacks in particular.
He brought out the Twizzler War again.
Hashtag Team Red Vine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Wait, am I the only one who likes Twizzlers?
No, I'm a Twizzler
Wait, are you from-
person.
Oh God, Mark
I'm
is
a
like
Twizzler-
flailing at me.
Okay, but
Oh, let's not start this again.
you're from
about
the East
it.
Coast as well, right?
I'm from the Midwest. Yeah. So
Okay. Okay. And Mark,
not
you are
West
too.
Coast.
yeah, Mark is. Where are you from, Mark? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have mentioned it.
I just-
Eric made me. Maybe I don't know.
I think
No
there's
offense.
a regional thing
Yeah,
to certain
it seems like that.
candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I worked on Sun's Refuge, the instance where you take it back, and along with Eric made our evil spider. He did almost all the work. I just
Horrifying
watched
and
him.
hilarious.
Yes, that's the word I would use, definitely. I also helped a little bit with War Eternal, along with Heather Conover. We helped make the Shadow Army. So.
That was awesome. I'm so sad that Heather was out of office today, but huge shout out to Heather again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, Kevin.
What did I work on this year? Like, there was.
You can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it. Well,
War Eternal.
War Eternal, but was 3 in this year or was 3 last year?
Gosh.
I'm,
don't know. So-
I'm like
together.
trying to remember.
We'll just stick with War Eternal because that's probably.
Well, Yeah, War Eternal
Forefront.
came out like in the beginning of this. No, in April-ish, because
Episode 6?
Yeah.
episode
May
6.
14th.
Yeah. Okay. So
Wow.
And then
It was
episode.
my wedding anniversary.
Oh,
not
congratulations.
Oh,
here.
wow. You're welcome.
And then episode 5 was like January. So and then September for 4.
Yes.
So and then 3 would have been
Oh.
somewhere around May. So I don't know.
Okay, so War Eternal.
Guild chat math.
We're good at
done.
calendars.
How about you,
We-
Clayton?
Episode 5 basically is what I work on. I helped a little bit out with War Eternal. I made those cool vignettes when you go to res one of the visual soldiers and they wake up and then they cripple and then they shoot the flare and then the charcopter comes down and then the ladder and then they go up.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was you.
That was me. Jason was like, we need this.
Nice.
And I was like, I could do that. I could totally do this. And then I did some base spawn work, some random stuff. It was just at the end of episode 5. And so myself and the rest of the team kind of had some extra time on our hands to kind of just support and help as we were ramping up for other stuff. So, yeah, it was really fun.
Other stuff.
Other stuff that maybe Friday we'll talk about more.
You guys, we're less than 2 days out. We're less
Very
than
excited.
48 hours out.
Oh man.
Yeah, you're going to be there.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys going to be there?
No.
No, I will not.
That sounds very abrupt. No, I'm
Meh.
I'm gonna be out of town for my mom's birthday. So
You get a pass. right, so I would love to hear some of your favorite moments from development over the past year and some of the most fun things that you worked on or what happened.
Start on
I
that
don't care where
side.
we
Gosh, the most fun things. It's hard. I wish we had access to the behind the scene fun stuff because we had a lot of moments when developing Krauk.
I mean,
No.
That's not what we do here. We're developing Kraukatoric, and I'm sure Cam might have talked about some of this stuff. Sorry, Ruby, I didn't mean to throw you off. Yeah, I got something to admit. But Kraukatoric basically had these giant buck teeth at one point because he was just like stuck in the rock.
my god.
We have an image of it. If you scroll back on our YouTube show, you actually see when we did a guild chat for episode 5, we've shown that image before.
Yeah, didn't like his scary pointy teeth like clip through the terrain?
Giving
him big horse teeth.
Big giant horse teeth. So all of the like fear that he invokes was completely gone, and you just point and laugh.
This sounds less like a bug and more like a feature to me.
Right,
We were
yeah,
debating
I'm
yes.
so
right?
sad it's gone.
Yeah, it would have been great if we like knocked Krauk's teeth in and he was just left with that. Oh my
gosh.
They're kind of jagged.
Yeah.
And wasn't this like the unskinned version that Joe was talking about earlier?
Yeah, giant
It wasn't like the
blue-
final. Yeah.
Yeah. Looked like a giant blue horse. Basically, for the first part of his development. Oh, and then like,
Mr.
there's
Ed
just so much
mode.
fun stuff, right? Because like at one point, his whole textures was just rainbow.
Yeah.
So he was like,
I remember
he would
that.
like burst out, right? And we had like the robo voice of like, "Oh God, he's coming! We're so scared!" And then boom, rainbow Krauk.
Rainbow Krauk.
And so it
She's
felt
like, I'm here and I'm fabulous.
yes, exactly. And so we were like, it's a party.
Made that Kool-Aid Man moment even more special.
It definitely felt like that. Yeah. There was a really fun bug that almost drove Cam and I absolutely insane because it was towards the end of development, so you're kind of tired and you're ready to be done. And it was the moment for those who have played the episode where you fly over Kraukatoric. There was something changed randomly one day, as is game development, and so the character would start to fly up and then fall down. And we're like, what, why? Let's fix this bug.
He's like,
So
I'm
we looked
scared. No.
very scared, right? Like we're like
Done.
weeks, we're like days away from like our major gate of like we're done.
Yeah.
No.
So we need to figure that moment out. And then it took us a couple days, and then finally I was just like, we're stripping everything off one at a time. And so we were stripping buffs off the character one at a time, until finally like what it seemed was the determined buff. And I'm sure players have seen this. And then all of a sudden it started to work. And I was like, what happened? Nobody ever touches determined buff, and we're kind of like freaking out. And then Ben Arnold, who I'm sure the fans love because it's one of the Bens, was like, "I'm sorry, did you say what, determined?" And we're like, "Yes." He's like, "Oh yeah, I changed that to like remove any kind of wind tech." And we're like, "Whoa!" And so like it was crazy. We immediately and abruptly got to the point of it and fixed it, but that was like just something that it's a funny story now for us. At the time, every morning we were just like, "All right, you ready to tackle this?" And Cam's like, "Yeah,
He's
let's
like,
do
"No."
this." Yeah, because we just for the life of us couldn't figure it out. But yeah, so that was a fun at the expense of our sanity. Fun moment.
I don't know that it was worth it. But thank you for fixing it.
There's always like one or two of those, I feel like, when you're going through like just something that you can't figure out what's wrong, and then it's something silly and stupid, and then you laugh about it. That's good.
Because now it's okay.
Yeah, because now it's okay. And
Pressure's
we're on to
gone
the
now.
next thing.
Right.
Yeah.
How about you, Kevin?
So one thing that I really liked from this past year that it's kind of funny because it was something that I didn't want to do. Like I resisted having to make this change. But then once I got into it, I was like, actually, I kind of like this. So, and this is a little more behind the scenesy. So it's
That's
not
like my favorite stuff. So
Spill the beans.
in the instance in the chapters, the final instance in War Eternal, when you and the NPCs are walking through the caverns and then fighting things to cap the 3 ley line points, there were 2 things that were kind of screwing things up during testing. The NPCs were moving very oddly through that area, and they were also like just slaughtering things faster than they could spawn. They were because I threw in the Bioconics there as like super powered, just they're normal. I didn't tone them down at all. Just like, here you go, do the things, and they did.
Oh no.
They did. So what I ended up doing was for the movement, I
I worked on a series of like script pings to get them to move in a more intelligent way based on where the player was at the moment.
Okay.
And also which point they were supposed to be sealing up, which ley line point they were supposed to be sealing at the time. And then also a kind of a counter buff with the player for how much damage they should be dealing based on how much damage the player was doing, and if the player was participating in combat, and if versus if the player was just standing around and watching, not engaging in combat.
That's a lot.
So it was. Like I said, it was something I didn't really want to do because I was like, well, if the player wants the NPC to do everything, then go ahead and let the NPC do everything. I mean, it's not much fun, but I mean, it's an option. But sure, right? But once I got into it and started making all these changes, it to the benefit of Jason Reynolds.
Hey, I know him.
Yeah, it really played a lot better once those two changes went in that I didn't want to do, but I did, and I actually enjoyed it once I started doing it. And I was like, you know what, this is actually not too bad. Positive spin. Another positive spin. I've actually taken on both of those two things and have been applying them to other work as I go along because it worked so well there. I was like, I bet this will work well in other places too. So it's
paying dividends.
It's paying dividends, yeah.
Game development.
Game development.
Those realizations are the best. I don't have to make this again.
Well, we were talking about that earlier with Alina and Joel. They had there was something developed for episode 6, and there was enough overlap where Alina got to go in and go, you know what? I could use that for episode 5 too. I'll just.
Nice.
We're using that here too now.
Alina and Joel, some of the brightest minds at the studio.
They're scary smart.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Yeah. So how about you?
Let's see. I think Connor kind of went into it a little bit when he was on talking about all the crazy things that we were able to do in episode 4, the Starter Guidance. One of them was, I think it was also brought up when Gorik runs in, dashes through, bull in a china shop.
Clatter.
Yeah. The first time we heard that come in, like when we hear it with Robo Voice when it's not recorded, it's like,
oh,
what? But then we get the voice recording and it's nothing like we expected in a good way. It's
right.
like, oh my gosh, this sold that moment way, way better.
I love Robo Voice so much.
Yeah, and then just some of the moments that you don't really expect that end up being really funny in that episode when we were playing through it. One of them is in chapter 1. I don't think it was supposed to be like a funny moment, but when you're first needing to escape from the branded shatter attacking, an awakened guard decides to go on his own and says, "Forget you guys, I'm out." And then he gets, his hand, he gets the shattered hand in the face, and he just, I wasn't expecting that at all. And I think it was Morgan Brown who put that in, and I just bust out laughing because of just the moment. It was supposed to be super serious in the moment, like we're trying to escape, and just bam, like, well, poor guy, I guess. Anyway. That was one. Another one was a bug that I didn't want to fix, but I kind of had to in chapter 3.
Sensing a theme.
Yes, absolutely. At the end of when you recapture Sun's Refuge, you got Bram and Koss, and there was a bug that there was a chance that they just start fighting each other. And it seemed very it seemed very in character for them. So I was like, do I want to fix this?
No, you don't.
That's what I said. But other people disagreed, and QA was like, "You should fix this." Shout outs to QA. They were
they
right.
They were the
in this
angel on your
case.
shoulder.
Yes.
And Ruby was the devil. Like, don't fix this.
Yes.
Yeah, like Kevin and I are both on that other shoulder going, "Don't fix it.
Don't do it." Yeah.
But it was so funny and so in character, and it worked so well. And I was like, I don't want to. Okay.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But
So.
yes, fixing it is the right answer. But I love knowing this, and there will always be a little sad piece in my heart that got fixed.
I just see those two butting heads all the time in my
Right?
brain now. They're just like, their personalities just, I don't know. It just worked.
I want to see this cage match. Like
I
I
would pay
watch
money
that.
to see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I never knew that. That's hilarious. So what was causing it to happen?
So we put a buff on NPCs and instances, so if they die, like their health goes to 0, they are able to reset, so you don't have to like worry about resurrecting them because you're busy trying to survive yourself.
Right.
And that changes their team. And what happened is it was changing them to a team that was neutral and then swapping them to another team that was old, which was not set up to use some of the newer teams. This gets really cobwebby, but no pun intended with the spider boss. Yeah.
Like Kevin's face behind you was just like, oh no.
I'm glad he laughed. But yeah, it just turned out to be that it was switching him to an old team that was not set to be, passive to the team that Koss was on. So then they just had to duke it out, and it's like, well, it's an easy fix, but it's funny.
Yeah, again, but it works for them.
Exactly. So,
oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was just kind of like what Clay said. It was something very simple. It was a buff thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the good old buffs. When in doubt, use a buff. That's
Yeah,
what we
right?
say.
Yeah.
The game runs
Yeah.
via buffs.
Yep.
A
Right.
bunch of invisible buffs.
Yep.
I had
Oh
a
my
similar
gosh.
situation with the team swapping. Episode 2 of last season, where it was you would hop on a bunny and you'd like do a thing, but that would switch your team so you could kill this gadget that was on a team. But when you did that, when you came back, you were on a team that other player could be on an opposing team, and like without knowing, it was just like world PvP.
Oh,
and so we were
man.
testing, and like for a long time, I was trying to figure out how to fix that bug. But yeah, teams and fun stuff like that.
I want to hear what's in your mind right now.
That almost exact same thing happened to me when the very first time I tried to mess around with teams, and we ended up with players. This is on test, not on live. It was like with test players, and in Divinity's Reach, some of them could attack the others, but the others were like, "You're green to me. I don't understand what's going on. I can't attack you back." So it was
Why are you
all
hitting me?
one-way world PvP. It was great.
Oh, no.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That's
Teams
awful.
are scary.
Fun times.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your face was glorious while Clay was telling the story. You were just like, oh, I
It's a
know
rite of
this.
passage.
I know this one.
Every designer has to go through it.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of NPCs dying and trying to, this was a Let's Play that I weirdly did not do with you. but,
Yeah.
but with Connor, and I wish I'd mentioned this. I wish I'd thought about this. We were watching Udamishi walk away. Did you guys see this?
Yeah. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, I
seeing that.
couldn't, like,
Connor
I
needs to narrate more things.
he does. So, like, did you see it? Udamishi's like walking away, and Connor and I are doing a Let's Play. So we're like live in front of our players. And then we're like, wait a minute. We want to see where Udamishi goes. So we start following him. He's like very dignified, walk off into the distance. Connor's narrating it, like very solemn, very serious. He's like, Udamishi, the hero of our people. And somebody did not de-lurk him.
Nope.
So he gets to the end of the instance, and I'm walking behind him. The camera's on. I'm in first-person view, so it's just like Udamishi, and we're watching. And then he just keels over dead.
Yeah. He like doesn't even go up the stairs. He just goes and like, down, and like completely put Connor and Ruby by surprise.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I
amazing.
was just like, what?
Yeah.
And Connor's like dying over here.
Oh, man.
And it was my favorite NPC death ever.
After that stream was over, we could not. The rest of that day was just kind of a loss because we were just laughing about it back at our desks
I was
the entire
crying.
day. Yeah.
It was, and I don't remember, like, Connor later told me who worked on that content, and I need to buy them a present.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out if it was something that Matthew Medina added or Morgan Brown added, and
Oh, that sounds like a Morgan thing.
it kind of does.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
For those who don't know, like lurking is the term we use, right? Where NPCs like disappear, right? Like or they like exit the world in like a natural way. And then behind the scene, so the script usually is action lurk, action kill. But I guess like yeah, no lurk was given.
The lurk did not.
But like, and then since then we've made a subroutine, which is like a package set of actions, so anybody can just like set that up, which does that for us.
Stop fixing this really good stuff. You're fixing things that I don't want fixed.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll remove it right after this.
Thanks.
Right after this.
just change the subroutine. It's
Yeah, to
fine.
just not have
Yeah.
the lurk. Yeah, that'd be great.
Man,
Amazing.
It'll happen everywhere now.
That getting smashed by Crocotork fight was one of my favorites. Did we play that together on a Let's Play?
Yeah, I believe we did.
Yeah, that
Yes, we
was again. It's like very scary and very very serious because you're trying to save these people. I'm like screaming at them that they deserve what they get because they wouldn't move.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm
Don't go there.
yeah, no. Look, red circle. Come on, please.
That was, gosh, it started. Maybe y'all can remember of an earlier instance of this, but episode 2 was like the first start of like what we're calling like the Sin event style of gameplay, and then that like went over to y'all's episode, Star to Guide Us, where we had what's his face like fly down in right before you had the Shatterer, and then that all evolved and led to episode 5's big moment, right, where you're walking down after getting severely injured up to where Aurene is, and it was really. I'm thinking back now. All those moments like leading up and us working and trying to hone that skill and like get better at it over time. So it was really cool to see that evolution.
Yeah, the Sin events are something that can be really powerful when we do them, and so I'm really glad that we're able to do that.
Yeah.
The tech keeps evolving.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to talk to some people about that pretty soon.
Yeah. Spoilers. Spoiler warning, Mark. Spoiler warning.
I'm sorry, they're over there. I got excited. Air horns. Everybody knows the spoiler noise.
Yeah.
It's just a whole big thing. Well, I know, Clayton, you have worked at some fan events. What have some of your favorite player reactions and interactions been over the past year? And that's for all of you, not just Clayton.
Yeah.
No, Clay.
The pressure.
Well, let's see. For whatever reason, we were talking about this the other day. Like, I thought Gamescom was like yesterday, but it was like 2 years ago. So that doesn't count in the whole like last 12 months thing. Yeah. Was it last year? Okay.
Yeah, it's been about 1 year since me, you, and Mark were there.
So yeah, Gamescom was amazing.
Gamescom was incredible.
Right?
You guys were such a joy to hang out with.
Yeah. Traveling was really it was great. We met a bunch of fans, and then we had this huge event at one of the bars. You know the name. I always keep forgetting.
Haxon House.
Haxon House, right.
It doesn't have air conditioning. It's great.
That's what you remember about it.
It was really hot.
It was really hot. And it was 2 stories, so obviously like the second story was way hotter. But like I remember walking around, going to tables, talking to fans. Some were in cosplay, just telling us about their character and what they love, and like GW1 stuff. When we were at Gamescom, we met a bunch of fans who like built a banner and a commander tag icon.
Oh yeah!
And they were all walking in a line.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we just we're like, oh my god! And because they came up to us, we're so excited, and we were just learning about their guild and what how long they've been playing and what they love, and they're asking us questions, and so that was really fun. And then we had that fan auction kind of thing, like where the raffle. So we had the tickets and stuff, and people were winning toasters, and they were just excited, and I don't know, it was very energetic. So that was really fun. I'd never been to Germany before, so that was cool.
It was really good. Just that impromptu interaction. I know there was one where we were walking the show floor, and I had just tweeted, hey, me and Clayton and Byron and Mark, and we're all on the show floor and we're walking around, and we had like this quick Twitter setup. There were some fans who were like, hey, I'm in line. We're in line over here, and we stopped what we were doing and ran over to find them and got to go see them.
Yeah,
which was amazing. It was so much fun.
We met a couple people from Sweden, and they didn't know about the event at Haxon House, and we were able to get them some extra tickets, and so we saw them there. It was really cool. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And then I went to Rezzed, right, in London.
Yeah, how was
and
that?
that was awesome because at that point we had the Jackal up there.
Jean-Luc.
Yeah, Jean-Luc the Jackal, and he was awesome. So seeing fans there, getting them an opportunity to sit on the Jackal and take pictures and just kind of talk to all of them. I was up on the panel talking about episode 5, meeting some Beans from our Let's Play. That's where I met him. I am forgetting.
Seriously?
Yeah.
No, not Beans. I was thinking about Butters.
Not
no.
Butters. One day I'll meet
guy.
Butters. He has my number, but we've never met. It's really weird.
New favorite sentence again. It's the third one this live stream.
Yeah. So I don't know. I enjoy all that stuff, and the fans is what makes that the most enjoyable. So
yeah,
it's cool.
How about you, Kevin?
I have not done any events. So I have my fan interactions have been very limited. Although I will say,
in game that counts.
Randomly here, I met somebody whose friends, a married couple, met in Guild Wars, and so when I mentioned that I worked, they just were like, "Oh my gosh, that's where we met!" And
oh,
so that was really
that.
cool. That was really neat.
Oh. Yeah, that's the best. That we did a friendship thing
Friendships.
a while ago, right? Yeah. About different people who met and some married.
There was a couple. There was a guild that we worked with in 2018 for friendships, and they 3 of them got together, and then this year one of them tweeted at me and she said, "Hey, thanks to a couple of you, these friends are now a ship," and we followed up with them this year, and they're together now, and it's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
All right, how about you?
So the first time that I went to an event for Guild Wars 2 was last year, which I worked the booth at PAX last year,
Okay,
and
I
also
was like,
went
which one?
PAX. Worked the booth at PAX, which was very, very. I don't want to say overwhelming. It was just the response was wonderful, and meeting so many
Yeah.
cool fans that were fun to talk to.
It is overwhelming and exhausting
Yeah.
and wonderful. So
Yeah,
you are allowed to
it's
say that.
also incredibly energizing. It's just
Yes.
like seeing so many people enthusiastic about the game, just wanting to talk. Happy to talk to you. It was interesting just being on that side because I remember, I think 2011 or 2010 or something, being on the fan
Oh, God,
side
me
for
too.
Guild Wars 2,
Yeah.
talking to the devs. So it's like, oh man, seeing both sides is really neat. And then later, I think it was the same day, either that or the next day, it was that we had the party at Gordon Beer.
Yeah, Gordon Biersch.
Yes, which was also really, really cool. And the big takeaway moment for me for that was two people getting engaged in the middle of it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, yeah, that was really, really cool.
Oh, that was so neat. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's the most memorable moment from that for me, for
Yeah,
sure.
that was wonderful. I don't know if you knew, but she was an artist and she designed that ring.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah, I didn't
she's
know that.
like, they had talked about getting married. It wasn't like one of those scary surprise proposals where you're like, oh God, what's going to happen? But she had told him, they had talked about getting married and agreed they wanted to. And she said, just please make it a surprise. And he was like, gonna
Mission
do it.
accomplished.
And she was incredibly surprised. But yeah, she loved the ring because she designed it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
I've also ran into a couple fans just like on the street, kind of. Like a couple years ago, I went to go renew my apartment lease, and the apartment man, I had a Guild Wars 2 shirt on. He's like, "Oh, do you play Guild Wars?" I'm like, "Hey, I actually work on Guild Wars." Like, "Oh wow, I've been playing since GW1." So we had it was kind of an interesting moment. We just talked about that for a bit, and I'm like, "Meanwhile, also I need to renew my lease." So,
And then he gave you $300 off your.
I wish, but
Yeah,
no.
no, okay.
And then just the other day, like one of my new neighbors came over to introduce himself. He's like, I was wearing my Path of Fire T-shirt. And he's like, "Nice T-shirt, by the way." Just
Aw,
really cool moments.
that's so
People
cool.
are excited about it, and that's really fun. So.
I have a story like that. It's not me. It was my parents. We're buying a house. And my dad, they went into finish signing the papers. My dad was wearing a Guild Wars 2 T-shirt I'd given him. And the guy asked him if I could get free gems for him. I was like, no. And I said, tell people if I have to buy them, you have to buy them. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there was Guild Wars 2. I love Guild Wars 2. And my dad was like, oh, my daughter works for ArenaNet, and he goes, oh, can she get me some free gems? And please just give me the paperwork, sir.
Fortunately, mine didn't turn into that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It was. I'm pretty sure he was joking. He did not get free gems.
Only half joking. That's
But
always.
he
they
did get a
always
lot of
half
money
joke.
for a house. So
That's yeah.
yeah, that's a whole
good.
thing.
Yeah.
Um,
At PAX, I had last year. I was working the booth, and I made it bad. I goofed. There was a
Hey,
little.
there's a T-shirt for that.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I can't wait because I will buy that. But there was a little kid who was just having a rough time, and their parents really were huge Guild Wars fans, and they wanted to hop on and take a picture and all that stuff. And my brain went to, I know how I can help. I can help solve this. So I grabbed a Ritlock plushie, and I was like, here you go, not thinking that this kid would immediately think this is his and this is his forever. And I was just like, oh no, I goofed. And so he held on to it for as long as humanly possible, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I have to take this from you because this is not yours. I learned a very valuable lesson that day.
So I did that at Comic-Con. I did that at San Diego Comic-Con.
You did? Okay, I don't feel as stupid.
Oh, I feel totally stupid. But there was this precious little kid, and the parents were huge Guild Wars 2 fans. And there was some swag that we had the freedom to randomly share if we deemed it fit. If the opportunity arises and there's a super fan, here is this thing. And so I was like, I talked to him for a while, and then it was a plushie, and I can't remember which one. It might have been one of these. But then 2 hours later, I hear Katie going, has anybody seen that such and such? And I'm over there going,
No.
I don't know. Ruby's not here right now.
yeah, please leave a message.
So I had to go to Katie and be like, hi. Funny story. They're also long gone.
Oh.
Oh man,
So
Katie's
she-
really
and
great though. She took that
Katie's
well, right?
amazing. Yeah, she was like, no, I totally understand. It's fine. Please don't give away any more stuff from this pile here. Do not give stuff
But
away.
please don't touch my plushies anymore.
I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I will buy another one.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I goofed so
Right?
bad. Yeah.
It's hard.
So, All right. Well, is there anything before we wrap up that you guys wanted to share with our community that you didn't get to? You don't have to. It's okay. Kevin looks scared. I'm sorry, Kevin.
I'll start, I guess.
Yeah, they're going to do that.
Yeah. Just shout outs to some of the people that we worked with this year.
Yeah.
Lily Yu, Matthew Medina, Aaron Panagos. We
Yes,
love you guys.
love you
It
guys.
was great working with you guys on those episodes. It's been good fun.
Amazing, talented people.
Yeah. We've made really cool stuff for the past year, and the best is yet to come.
Yes.
So thanks for playing.
Well said,
2 days.
Kirk. Well
Yeah,
said.
well said. Well done.
Take a bow. Take a bow.
And I'm out.
Please unplug your headset before you. Don't clothesline yourself. I don't want you to-
I'm touching it. That means it's mine now, right?
Okay.
That's how the rules work.
That's
It's
okay.
the plushie rule.
Yeah.
I mean, I have kids, so that's pretty much yes. Have you seen like the toddler rules? Like if I'm touching it, it's mine.
Yeah.
If it's yours, it's also mine.
Yeah. I always win. Bottom
Yes.
line. Yeah.
How about you, Kevin?
Oh man. I don't know what to say.
Cat facts.
Oh jeez. You had me doubled over
That was
trying
glorious.
not to laugh.
That was glorious.
Oh my gosh. That's a nice
I'm
throwback.
sorry.
But thanks for playing.
Yep.
We love having you play our game. We love making the game for you to play. It's a wonderful symbiotic relationship we've got going on.
I
And
love
so
it.
you're happy, I'm happy. I'm happy, you're happy.
That works. I love it. Clayton?
Clap for that one too.
Take a bow. Take a bow. Take a bow. I'll just echo what y'all said, Kirk and Kevin. And I'm really excited for Friday. I'm going to be there, so please feel free. Like, I'm an open book. Come talk to me. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about within reason, right?
Thank you.
But I want to hear from y'all, and it is like the best part of the job. So please feel free.
Do you have
Don't be
plushies to
shy.
give away?
Maybe. We'll see if Katie lets me. Probably not. Don't get your hopes
Yeah,
up.
I'll be walking around PAX too if anyone wants to chat.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yay.
Video games,
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't have to just be Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
We also are gamers and play other games, so we want to hear all about it. All about that stuff.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys very much. And hang on because we have 3 more people coming. All right. All right, we are back with our final set of dev guests. Thank you all for taking some time out of your day to join. Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Happy
all of that
anniversary.
fun stuff. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and talk about what you worked on this past year?
Yeah, I'm Dahi. I'm a cinematics animator. You guys have seen me a
Yeah,
couple
welcome
times now.
These are all Guild Chat veterans, so
yeah.
this feels
What
easy.
did I work
love it.
on? Well, so on the cinematics team, I worked on the part where Timey tells the sad thing about her stuff to Bram. I did Kaith at the very, very end of that cutscene. And just like every cutscene that's come out since then, I've touched a little bit. So yeah.
Awesome. How about you?
My name is Chelsea Shooter. I'm the cinematics director. I helped really shepherd all the cinematics in the past year, helping the team out, having a hand in some places here and there, camera work, mocap acting, general management kind of stuff, and craft leading.
Yeah, I'm Julian Narden. I'm the narrative lead and story editor on Guild Wars 2. I came on last October, so really all I did this last season was help push episode 6 across the finish line, and then stewarded the Twine series, the Requiem Twine series, in between 5 and 6.
Series is so good. And I love how you say that all you did was help with the finale of season 4.
Most of the stuff that I've been working on is what we're announcing on Friday, so...
And you're going to get to talk about that on Friday.
I sure am. I'm really excited
We are, I cannot wait. We are so close.
I know it's tempting. I mean, not that we would ever, but
Yeah.
yeah. I want to. I want to.
Yeah, this is really exciting for us. We cannot wait to get this in front of all of you.
But
we're
we
getting
can't.
there. Yes.
Yeah, I was actually like just about to say something that was like, no, wait, that's spoilers, mild spoilers, but I shouldn't.
Well, we have
So
rehearsal
hard.
tomorrow, so we can get it out of our systems. And then we have the real thing first thing Friday morning. So we are almost there. In the meantime, though, we can talk about all of the amazing work that you guys did over the past year. Julie, we did a guild chat about the Requiem series.
We did.
But do you want to talk a little bit about what some of the highlights of that were for you while you were working on it?
Sure. Without spoilers, yes. I think
you can spoil season 4.
I can spoil season 4.
Yes.
Okay. So I think that one of the things that we did when we set out to do the Requiem series is we wanted to kind of provide a transition between episode 5 and episode 6, since we knew people were going to have a lot of feelings about what happened, and we also knew where we were going. We knew that she was going to come back fairly quickly at the beginning of episode 6, and we wanted to find a way to maybe prepare people for that by kind of making them think about it and exploring how the characters were feeling. So that was kind of something we wanted to do there. But in doing so, we really needed to have some conversations about Ritlock. For the most iconic character that we have in the game, we sure don't know a lot about him. There's a lot that has been kept secret up until the Twine that Alex wrote. We didn't know how he got Sahothan. So we set out to figure that. We set out to figure out what his relationship was with his legion. He's not there very much, despite being a tribune. He's absent. So we wanted to kind of look at that and explore what that means for him. We haven't gotten a chance to get into Ritlock's head. So we wanted to do that. And I think the big highlight for that was really getting into chart culture and having a really big conversation with the entire narrative team about what we inherited from the core game and what we wanted to do to explore and capitalize that, like play to the strengths of the lore of the game. That's something we've been really focused on for the last year. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest highlight, those conversations and looking forward.
Yeah, that was really interesting to hear about. Even peripherally, it was so much fun listening to you guys decide what we were going to do. Where's this going to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to hear about everybody's highlights about what you worked on over the past 12 months. So we'll just go this way.
Chelsea.
And you can have more than one. You're allowed.
Highlights. Man, a lot
What
of
were
the
some
stuff.
of your favorite things?
Well, some of the stuff I do is a lot of management. I don't know. I mean,
give yourself some more
Do
credit.
you want me to go into management stuff? I
All
mean,
the
like I
credit.
guess one of my proudest things is seeing my team members grow on the team. Like even Dahi, right? You know,
Wow.
Wow.
What does that imply?
I meant because you're right. You're sitting right here, right? I don't want to like talk third person. Anyhow, but like providing that support to the team and like developing people's career tracks and also like really getting a good product out there. And man, like a highlight, it's just like I don't know. There's a lot that happens. I guess one of the biggest things I am very proud of is Jason Byfield got a new title to cinematic marketing lead.
Yeah.
And so he's doing a lot of that kind of like leadership with the marketing team and everything, and our connection to that. And so that was, a proud moment. There's stuff I can't talk about for the future, but the work that both Dahi and Greg have been doing animation-wise, it's just so good to see their growth in that, as well as like excited for what we're doing for the product, and the more craft of it. I'm not being specific here because
No,
it's a
this
lot
works.
We could
high
talk
level kind of stuff
about like how we choose the cinematic moments, like the kind of shift that we've had in terms of.
Oh yeah, that's a good. So
Because that was only recently, right?
it was not quite in this last year. It was sort of like in that year before, but still like it's been more solidified in that the cinematic moments are more highlighting deep emotional story connections to help with those like fibers with the player character with the NPC or what's going on in the world around them and the culture that they're enveloped in this game. Versus, here's a cool. Now, I'm not saying explosions are bad. There'll probably still be explosions in the future and highlight like big, effects moments, and there's still some of that, right? But it's more instead of just like, hey, there's this cool thing. We want to put that cool thing in game, so when you're the player character, you experience more of like that explosion happening in real time, so you can react to it. And then the more close, intimate moments, which is harder to get through a gameplay camera, is when we're doing the cinematic. And I feel, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way, that it's more impactful to highlight the story in that regards.
Like the Keith branding. I can't imagine doing that in game and still getting that feeling of how they're connected now and how they're both affected by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that camera perspective helps the audience. It's a language in of itself on how to guide the audience and what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and sometimes just through like the gameplay cam, it doesn't quite get that same thing. Same with on the reverse end, like when we're talking about cin events, like when there is a big explosion happening, or say like a bridge is falling, or some other big event, you want to experience that in your own shoes and not through someone else's lens. But then when it's an emotional moment, you want to experience that through another lens, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. How about you? I hear you've grown.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I've gotten an inch taller, maybe.
I wish. I have not.
Yeah. But speaking of cin events, I think definitely my highlight was the end of episode 5 when you walk down that long hallway and see Noreen at the end. And that was a highlight not only because, it was a big emotional moment and whatnot, but like there were a lot of technical hurdles, and I think I was like the sole animator on that one. So that was fun. And also it was a lot of like game cycle animations, which I hadn't done since I was an intern. So it was nice to like go back and kind of mess around with that kind of stuff. And it was just fun to explore like another way of telling our story, another way players could experience the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that was my highlight.
That particular scene, and I know we've talked about that quite a lot, but that particular scene, the work that went into the little details on that was mind-blowing to start with. But then when we went through and you and I, we had talked quite a lot about the progression of that and the development of that to make every little thing look just right. And I remain astounded at how much went into it. So yeah, there were 100 big and little reasons why that was so touching and why that was so powerful. So amazing work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all those like little details and back and forth with the designers, with various artists and environment art and whatnot, like happens for every cutscene, every project that we work on. It's like, yeah, it's crazy how many cogs need to all grind together and work together
just
to make it happen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what have some of your guys' favorite player reactions been that you've seen once content you worked on got out there?
Don't start with
Don't.
me.
Man. I mean, it was fun to watch streams of people go through that segment and see how they react to, like, as they get closer and closer, and all the like amazing sound design stuff that went into that scene. To be honest, I was also watching to see if they would make any comments about the animation, because I was like, oh, is it good? Is it bad?
But that's your work. You care about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. So that was pretty fun for me.
That's so cool.
It's not really in-game content, but
It's allowed.
the episode 6 trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was fun, too.
That was a lot of fun to watch reactions to that, because it was a very different trailer and very, moody.
Yeah.
I love moody stuff.
Great. Go with it.
Yeah.
It was, and again, watching the progression of that behind the scenes, watching the development of that come from just like, sometimes there's just a black screen with some words about here's what's going to happen here. And seeing your hand in there, fixing the animations and making things look cool, again, was amazing. But yeah, it was a very different trailer than what we had done, and I loved watching people react to it.
Yeah.
When the Twine stories came out, we had people record them on YouTube, read them out loud.
That's right.
It's really wonderful to hear people connecting with the material and have the cadence of their voice match what you imagine the voice actors would do. I don't know how to put this. Like, there's the voice was written correctly when someone's able to do that, and you know that the people reading it know the character as well. Like, that's very rewarding, and it's always wonderful to see people enjoying what we're putting out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something someone was saying earlier on an earlier segment, in that we make you make these things, you do this work, and it's sometimes a year or more of work on one thing.
Yeah.
And finally getting it in front of people and seeing, okay, yes, they love it. I made this thing for people to enjoy and have fun with, and that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
It's
spend
incredibly gratifying.
Yeah, you spend so much time doing it behind a curtain, and you can't say anything, and you can't show anything. So,
Yeah.
like, that moment when you can debut it, it's cathartic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels amazing, and the reactions are so good.
And the other thing, too, is that, like, when you're making the thing, sometimes you don't know, like, what people are going to get and what people aren't going to get. And, like, we had this whole discussion for, like, and it was a long discussion, too, and it kept coming up over and over and over again for trailer 6, or for episode 6 trailer, about, like, the 5 stages of grief and all that, right? And we were, like, the whole time, we were wondering if fans would even get it, and there were a few comments that were like, guys, I think this is the 5 stages of grief. And we're like, hey,
yay, it worked.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like cool too. Not that, like, obviously it is our job to make sure that we are clearly conveying the most important information, right?
Right.
But there's often slightly less important information that adds to the story, but it's fine if you miss it, but you'll enjoy it so much more if you get it.
Yeah, there will be more depth to it.
Yeah.
It's that subtext layer.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
I think it's important in a lot of media. If it's not there, you're just sort of like a surface level kind of approach to craft, or even just like visual. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's not bad.
I mean, I remember when we were working on that trailer that we had long conversations about the body language between Ritlock and Logan, and like who would be more aggressive, and like what made sense, and like trying it different ways, and what we landed on felt right, but it was a lot of iteration to get there.
Yeah. And but like on the flip side, sometimes people will read way too deeply into certain things to do. Like, again, for that trailer, people were analyzing, like, okay, Logan is pointing at this exact point on the map, which means we're definitely going to go here for episode 6, and like,
yeah, I remember that.
And like, it is amazing that y'all are putting that much effort into like viewing our content, but it was that kind of stuff is really funny to me.
Yeah, just
and very charming.
Yes, and paying attention to all of those little details.
Right.
It feels good to see that happen.
Yeah. And it makes us think too, like, should we have paid attention to where he's pointing on the map? But
oh no.
But sometimes we do.
Yeah,
sometimes
I mean,
we're like, okay, if we put this in there, is wooden potatoes Yeah. Or Oh my someone God. else.
Yeah.
Gonna read into this. Okay, we have to be careful now. Okay, maybe we should do this instead. And be like, sometimes it's a nice catch, you know,
Like,
to make sure.
for instance, we like spent a long time thinking about what Bram's going to be carrying during that cutscene, and that choice was very deliberate. Like he's carrying this thing that you can do for this quest for Aureen.
Her nest, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like somehow connected with Timey and whatnot. So sometimes we.
Yeah, it was very specific.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me of a thing that we put in. Again, sometimes you very deliberately put things in, and people don't notice. None of y'all caught this. When we just did this absurd, silly, one-off thing.
Wooden Potato says yes, he will.
Yeah.
Wooden Potato says yes, he will.
Yeah. Bring it on, buddy.
Okay. So sometimes we just do like random silly things. If I stumble across something on social media, and early in August, we stumbled across this thing. There is a town, I think, in Minnesota called Braham. Braham.
No way.
That's awesome.
No, and they have a thing. They have an annual pie day, like pie. So that it was Bram Pie Day. It is a real thing. It's like a recognized holiday.
Wow.
They have a Twitter account, and there's like a Bram Pie Day hashtag. And we were like, oh my gosh, we have to do something. Does anybody have 5 minutes to like throw something together for me? And I can just like tweet about Bram Pie Day, because how can we not?
That's so funny.
So somebody on our team put together this thing where Bram, and then they showed like Bram's inventory where he had like stacks of every pie in the game. And you guys, we put a thing from Ascended Cooking in there. There's a stack of the cheesecakes
Oh.
No
in there. And we were like,
way.
all right, what are we going to, like, someone's going to recognize, because they pay attention to every tiny thing, right?
Everything, yeah.
So we're going to put these cheesecakes in there, and then we'll let them wonder, because we're going to be talking about Ascended Cooking pretty soon anyway. So we can go ahead and do this. Nobody noticed it. And we were sitting there all morning going,
Shame.
no,
Oh, no,
So
nothing.
you guys missed something. But yes, at the very end of all of these stacks of pie, the very last thing in his inventory was, again, a very deliberately placed stack of cheesecakes.
That's
And that was
amazing.
your teaser for Ascended Cooking.
Yeah, you missed it.
So-
Missed it. Gotta stay on that ball, you know?
Well, something that you had mentioned earlier, you worked on the Timey's confession cutscene.
Yes. Yeah.
And one of the standout things from that was Debbie Derryberry recording that.
Yeah. She's so good.
Yes. And I did not have to be there for that particular recording. And I say that because it apparently was just breaking everyone. And it was like, don't talk to her when she's done, because don't try to cheer her up. Just leave her alone and let her be for a couple minutes, because she was really feeling it. And I feel like that comes through in Timey's reading.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
it
feel
was-
like Julie could maybe
Yeah.
speak more to, maybe not that like specifically, but in general, VO recording and whatnot. Because like we don't ever get to go down to Burbank and be a part of
Yeah.
that. I know. I wish I could.
Yeah.
Mostly because you guys have Portos in Burbank. But anyways.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
I can say that I'm going down next week to Burbank because I'm going to be taking pictures and putting them on my Twitter account. But yeah, we go down to Burbank. We record for a week at a time. We get to schedule our voice actors, kind of talk to them about the context of the episode. Because narrative isn't just story, right? It's contextualization. It's the sociology of the thing. Like, how does it relate to the gameplay? Does everything holistic? Does it make sense? And each voice actor is different. But they're all really wonderful and all really invested and interested in their characters. I know that we love playing that Steve clip where he's talking about how he relates to Ritlock.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
yeah. And
it's-
that ended up being canon, didn't it?
Yes.
That's like, yeah, that's in there now. Everybody loved it so much that we were like, let's roll with that.
Yeah. So everyone's process is different too. Like some people are really animated. They don't,
Yeah.
want to be spoken to. Other people are always asking questions. We're just so lucky to have the cast that we have. And, new faces that'll be coming up for upcoming content too. Really excited to share those people with you as well. Yeah.
I just want to say, yeah, we can't talk.
We
but
can't, we want to, but we can't.
So
Yeah.
close.
Nolan North's Joko,
Oh my gosh, so good.
which, I miss Joko.
Yeah.
Praise Joko. miss him so much. Anything else, but yeah, that
I only got
performance.
the tail end of Joko.
Well, I'm also Guild Wars 1 player, so
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
steeped a little bit more in.
In Joko.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remained sad that we didn't have like a joke off between Mad King and Joko, because that's all I could think of when I knew he was coming back.
Yep.
Was like super long time players will remember like this trash talk battle between the two of them, and it was one of my favorite things in Guild Wars 1.
Yeah.
Isn't there used to be, I'm sure there still is, this YouTube series that was like rap battles.
Oh, I remember.
History,
that.
I think. They do historical figures, but
Yes.
I don't know.
You
Someone
I
do
need
do
a Joko and Mad King rap battle.
of
If it already
those.
exists, somebody please let me know.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
Okay, so before we wrap up, is there anything else that you guys want to let the community know or talk about that we didn't get to?
Oh man, good question.
Or is there anything you want to tell them before? That's not what I mean. Don't tell them anything about fighting. I need this job. You stop that.
I don't think you're the one who'd get in trouble.
What about you, Chelsea?
Well, honestly, I just want to say thanks for playing the game.
Yeah.
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 You know, and for 7 years of being with us, or even if you're new, and you know, whatever time length you've been with Guild Wars, or even if you're Guild Wars 1 person like me, just thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, and if you are a new player, it can be hard in the beginning, but stick with it because the content gets really, really good. Not that it's bad in the beginning, but it gets better. It gets better.
It can be it can be a little overwhelming.
Oh my god!
Coming into
yeah.
any new game.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, especially in MMO, that's been going
Yeah.
for 7 years. Like, that's a lot of.
The
that's a
thing
lot
I
of
love
game.
about that is that there are still people hanging around those starter levels because of the way we do leveling, and you're gonna find somebody to play with, and I love that. That makes me feel so good.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I enjoy map completing.
Yeah.
I'm
you know.
embarrassed to say how many times I've done map completion.
Yeah, just to thank you, and for your eagle eyes. We put some stuff into the game. I can say that because it's been in the last year. A few weeks ago, we snuck some stuff in, and people isolated it and reversed it and put it on YouTube and speculated about it on Reddit. And that amount of passion and dedication, I think everyone here in the building really appreciates, and would love to thank people for that and for their patience. Like we are as excited about Friday as they are. I cannot state that enough.
Yeah.
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 I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited.
And I guess I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this or not, but I'm gonna say it anyways. No, don't worry. It's a good thing.
Okay.
Trust me.
We trust you.
Yeah.
Your manager's right here.
I guess I just want to express, because this is something that I really care about. It's just like diversity and inclusion and
Oh
and all
God,
that,
you're not gonna
and-
get in trouble for that.
I hope not. But I guess I don't know what I'm like want to convey about this other than that, like, trust us that like it is important to so many people at the studio here, like not only for our game but also for our employees and like everyone who works here. I mean, everyone I've interacted with who works here like cares about it a lot, and we want to bring you all sorts of different characters, and you know, there is a lot of thought put into like just making sure that every character isn't the same kind of archetype that we've seen over and over and over again. That's all I want to say is
I'm glad
that's
you said
something we
that.
care about a lot, and I hope our fans care about that too.
I'm glad you said that. I am proud of our community in a lot of ways in that particular arena. Pun not intended at all. But yeah, I'm very proud with how a lot of our community has been about that.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
very proud of us.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, if you don't see yourself represented in our game, like, let us know, because you totally deserve to be represented in our game. You know, no matter what. So
Thank you for making
talk
me
to
cry.
us. Like, we want to hear from people. We want to talk to them. And I'm not sure the best channel to do that, but like we are listening. We do read things. We do, even if we aren't responding, we are reading and taking it to heart.
Like, this is live. For
This is
example.
live.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is
not
live. We are
pre-recorded.
reading.
we were crowded around the monitor reading all the stuff in the chat before we came on here.
Yeah.
Like, it's fresh in our minds.
Yep.
Yeah. So, All right. Well, that was you're our last set of dev guests.
Oh,
on this.
are we?
You are the last set of dev guests that will ever be in this room.
That's right.
We are.
Everyone say goodbye to this room. I'm going to destroy it right after this stream.
Oh,
gonna be me and a
I'm
hammer.
having some nostalgia about this room.
Are we keeping the backdrop though? The really beautiful.
That's a whole conversation.
Okay.
We're going to be selling it off in an auction.
You can't tell from the screen, but it like juts out. Like it's
it's a huge
whole
set.
thing.
We've been talking a lot about what to do with all of these pieces. Z wants one of the little ones. Of course he does. I was like, of course you can have one. But
Well,
no,
he'll have to
we've
dish
been in this
$50
room
for
for 5 years now, and we're going to have a gorgeous new home after construction is done in a few months. You'll be seeing us in our temporary home on our next live streams.
Where?
4 or 5.
4 or 5.
Ooh, okay. Wait, is
that's a
4
whole
going to be permanently booked forever for live streams?
Yeah,
now?
for a while.
That's so funny.
You guys don't know. This is where, if you were around in 2012 watching our live streams, that's where we live streamed out of for a very
4 or
long
5.
time
Awesome.
until
Wow.
we got this room. We would set up the equipment and then tear it down at the end. The production table, like Mark's domain over there, that was one of the bar stools out of the common area with my laptop sitting on it, and then I would sit in a regular chair. And that
We have come a long way.
That is awesome.
We've
Now
come
we're
a
going
long
back.
way. And
Back
now
to
we're going
our
back, but it's not
roots.
going to be like that this time.
Well,
going
you
back.
know, it won't look like Mark's in a closet now.
Yeah,
He does look like he's. Oh, he is
We
literally
Yeah.
in a closet. Okay.
It's like, you know.
he likes it there. Okay,
Yes.
we didn't make him do it.
Closets are cozy. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're not just like shoving him in there and closing
It's not
the
a
door at the
Harry
end of the
Potter
stream.
situation. Yeah.
You get the best
Yes.
storage solution. I mean,
Yeah. You get shelves and everything.
Yeah, so this is it for this room. But the new studio is going to be amazing, and I'm super excited.
Yes. New studio floor. We're not moving. This
Right,
studio,
yeah.
this recording studio.
Yes,
Okay.
the new live stream studio.
Okay, because I was like, are we moving?
No, I didn't just. That is not how I would break that to you.
Yeah.
We're here. So, thank you all for hanging out with us in this room for the past 5 years, and we will see you on the next live stream. Happy anniversary. Thank you all. We are, if you look at the top left-hand corner of your screen, that is right up here.
Yeah.
That is how far out we are from Friday's discussion of the new Living World story of our new chapter.
Dang.
So we are very close. Julie, you'll be there?
I'm gonna be there. Novira King is also gonna be there from Narrative.
I love Novira.
Novira's awesome. She did all that work on the last Raid Wing. Like
Key of us.
really
She's
thoughtful.
amazing.
She
I
is
love her.
amazing.
Yeah.
So it'll be us, and I think you talked to Clayton said he'd be there.
Clayton's going to be there. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to have, and a lot of our devs are just coming to be there and
It's
see
a
the event.
great
so
venue. We're really excited.
Yeah,
To just,
more theater in Seattle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you can't come in person, please join us here on the live stream channel that you're watching right now in 43 hours and 54 minutes. It simultaneously feels like a million years and 5 minutes.
I know, right? It's like, wait, it's on Friday today. Oh, today's already Wednesday.
Stop saying that. All right, thank you all. We will see you on Friday. Happy anniversary.
happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Happy birthday.